Chapter 849. Chu Feng had awakened and was actually chanting. His voice was clear and resonant as it spread outside the palace hall. This made the group of people look at each other in dismay. They felt that there was a certain rhyme to it, but they couldn't quite put their finger on it. Oh, he's just a youth without a sect. He's right behind the strongest geniuses. Even if he doesn't enter the top 3, it's already not bad that he could persist until this step. He should be pretending to be mature now. The old man from the corpse race commented with a faint smile. Now, their corpse race could look down on all the other races. After all, Yen Luo hadn't made any movements all along and hadn't returned yet. He was astonishingly strong. Who hasn't been a little conceited when they were young? It's indeed worth celebrating. The old monster from the White Phoenix race also smiled with an aloof attitude. He believed that the main soul of the outstanding talents from the race would be even stronger when they returned. The old men from the other races all wore smiles and looked certain. They believed that the descendants of their race hadn't returned yet and that they would blossom with even more dazzling splendor when the time came. After that, there was still a large group of youngsters waiting here. There were outstanding talents from various races who had received the golden invitation earlier and also young geniuses who came with their elders to welcome their guests. Now, the group of people was discussing spiritedly. They couldn't be as reserved as the older generation figures. These people dared to say anything. Some people were judging and discussing who could persist until the end and return as the final king. Zhenju, I heard Wu Luanhui calling your name just now. One of the young girls in a black dress teased a young girl in white clothes and said that Wu Luanhui was talking about her. What? Where? The young girl in white clothes was adorably silly. She still didn't know what was going on. In the surroundings, a few young girls giggled and immediately jeered. They were very lively and noisy. Ah, you bunch of filthy demon kings! What nonsense are you talking about? He's only reciting a poem. You guys are too excessive. The group of young geniuses was very lively as they discussed here. There were even many people who gathered together to drink and chat. To them, this was a form of networking. They were interacting with the top youths from various races and drawing closer relationship. At the same time, many people here had personally experienced damning Pure Land's trial and received the golden invitation. It was just that they were eliminated in advance and had already recovered for more than half a year. However, they had been waiting here all along to see who could persist until the end and return as the final king. Brother Li Su, do you really not have any recollection of what happened in that world? I don't have any recollection at all. You have to know that you're one of the top 20 or 30 super experts of this generation in the universe, yet you can't remember anything. Li Su wore azure gold armor, his appearance handsome. He did his best to recall, but in the end, he shook his head with a sigh, not having any impression. There was a solemn atmosphere in the divine hall. No one was allowed to approach, and only a few old monsters from damning Pure Land were guarding it. After Chu Feng woke up, he felt as if he had fallen into an immortal furnace. His entire body was burning with pain and the heat was unbearable. He felt as if he was about to be burned. At this moment, strand after strand of blood energy emerged from his body. The spiritual energy of his entire body was too enormous, and it was mixed with an excessive amount of yang energy, burning his true body. If it was an ordinary body, it was simply impossible for it to withstand Chu Feng's boundless soul light. It was even more powerful than when Qin Luoyin, Ing Wudi, and the others had returned. His soul light was faintly connected to order runes. This made a few old monsters from damning Pure Land suck in a breath of cold air. They felt shocked. This teenager was actually close to the quasi-saint realm and could step into it at any time. Even though Chu Feng had made ample preparations, he could only pour a portion of his soul light into his body in the end. There was still a portion of his soul light outside that he didn't dare to enter. That was because his spiritual energy was too strong, and the yang energy that he brought back was too tyrannical. It surpassed the others, and even if he possessed the humanoid monarch's blood now, he still couldn't bear it. In the end, he temporarily transformed the remaining half of his soul light into a sword embryo with a clang. He carried it on his back so that it didn't appear out of place, but the few old men from damning Pure Land who were in charge of guarding this place saw it clearly. Every one of them was shocked. Motherf ** Kerr. He condensed his soul light into a low-key and luxurious weapon, and he carried it on his back. How strong was this brat now? No wonder he's conceited in reciting poems. He's truly extraordinary, one of them said in a low voice. After Chu Feng's soul light stabilized, the entire palace hall was blazing brilliantly. It was illuminated and scorched by his soul light sword embryo until it was like daytime. He was like a blazing sun as he sat cross-legged there. At this moment, Chu Feng sized up his surroundings and saw a few old men staring at him. Some of them had amiable smiles on their faces, but there were also some who had unkind expressions on their faces. He looked around. Ing Zhixian and Qin Luoyin, who were beside him, were long gone. An old woman from damning Pure Land had an unkind expression on her face. The main reason was because she had previously discovered that this youth's physical body was actually squeezed between Qin Luoyin and Ing Zhixian, and it seemed slightly intimate. Wu Luanhui, do you remember what you experienced in that world? An old man asked amiably. Chu Feng returned with his memories, so he was naturally well prepared. He had a blank look on his face as if he was pondering, but in the end, he didn't know anything. He quietly glanced at Yen Luo and Luo Shirong. They were motionless like corpses and didn't have any reaction at all. Superfluous combat physique, purple cloud Taoist body, Buddhist race's guardian Vajrashir Wu, and the others were like thinkers as they furrowed their brows and held their chins. They didn't say a word as they were too solemn. Other than that, Shi Hong, Jin Lin, and the golden heavenly spider had slightly more soul light returned. All of them were sitting cross-legged and adjusting their blood qi as they pondered over something. Chu Feng had a clear idea in his heart and completely understood the situation. These people were either crippled by him or killed by him. Outside the Divine Palace, many people looked around and wanted to know Wu Luanhui's current condition. Dong. A bell rang and immediately made this place solemn. The palace door opened and someone was about to come out. He's coming out. Let's go over and see what Wu Luanhui's current condition is. This is one of the last few geniuses who returned relatively late. A group of youngsters all got up and flocked forward to block the Divine Palace's door. In reality, a group of elders couldn't sit still anymore and couldn't maintain their calmness. All of them had already gotten up and looked forward. They moved out one after another to see how strong Wu Luanhui was now. Chu Feng came out and crackling sounds came from all over his body. That was his blood qi steaming. The yin qi that was roasted by the soul light rushed out and was replaced by yang qi. The most terrifying thing was that his soul light penetrated through his body. It was too resplendent and illuminated his flesh and blood, making it almost transparent. His yang qi was dense. Oh my, I can't take it anymore. I'm about to burn up. How can this Wu Luanhui endure it? He's about to burn me even though we're so far apart. In reality, the youth closest to him quickly extinguished the yang qi flames on his body. He had a horrified look on his face as he fell back continuously. He had already been ignited. Everyone was overwhelmed with shock. This person was really too impressive. How strong was his soul light? As expected of a humanoid monarch bloodline, his corporeal body could actually endure it. In particular, many people saw the sword embryo on Chu Feng's back. That was simply a great killing weapon. Yang qi condensed and soul light shone. It could simply kill everyone's spirit in an instant. He's not simple. This Wu Luanhui is stronger than everyone who came back earlier. said an old man. Chu Feng smiled and nodded at everyone in a refined and courteous manner. In reality, he was a little lacking in confidence because he had gotten rid of some divine sons in another world. At the same time, he also beat some people silly and only released a portion of their remnant souls. Now, he had a smile on his face as he faced these opposing clan elders. Young man, you're pretty good. Did you see my family's Qilin son's performance in that world? An old man from the corpse race stepped forward. Chu Feng almost smashed his fist on his nose when he heard this. This was the corpse race's nemesis. Had he sensed something? But he was very calm and didn't make a move. In a split second, he figured out something. This old man didn't sense anything, but he was pretending to be profound in front of him. He had an aloof attitude and felt that the corpse race's Yen Luo hadn't returned yet, so he should be even stronger. Chu Feng calmed down in a split second and shook his head. Normally speaking, only ghosts could remember the matters of that world. After that, he walked over and left this old man. But in a split second, he fell back again with a face full of smiles as he said, "Senior from the corpse race, thank you for your blessing. But since you think so highly of me, please lend me some spirit medicines. This corporeal body of mine can't take it. I need great medicines to go into seclusion." There was no one else who was this thick-skinned. This was the little Taoist's secret discussion. He discovered that his father was really not sincere. After getting rid of Yen Luo, he still borrowed spirit medicines from the corpse race like this. The old man from the corpse race was suspicious. He kept feeling that this brat's smile was a little despicable. He really wanted to refuse because he did indeed have many great medicines on him that were all prepared for Yen Luo. But under the watchful eyes of everyone, this youth with great potential had already spoken. It wouldn't be appropriate if he didn't lend it to him. After that, he pinched his nose and handed over a jade box. There was an old medicine inside that was very old. He gifted it to Chu Feng. "Thank you very much, Senior." Chu Feng bowed. He didn't think it was too little and received it just like that. "Little brother Wu is really young and promising. Your future is limitless," some people said one after another. Chu Feng immediately grinned. His white teeth were very dazzling as he courteously borrowed the great medicine from them. They had never seen someone so shameless and impatient. This group of old fellows had a toothache. How could there be such a youth who directly asked for medicine in the open? The people behind him immediately didn't dare to greet him as they were afraid he would borrow the medicine. However, after Chu Feng finished borrowing the medicine here, he took the initiative to run over and entered into the middle of a group of old men. His mouth was sweet as he called them seniors and borrowed medicine one by one. "Senior from the Tao race, please lend me a hand. I have a very close relationship with Jinlin, so you have to help me." Amitabha Buddha, old man from the Buddha race, we were definitely one family 500 years ago. I believe in reincarnation, so I was definitely a true Buddha back then. You have to help me. Uncle from the White Phoenix race. Chu Feng's mouth didn't stop as he chattered. He walked over and asked for the world's spiritual treasures from everyone he saw. He said he wanted to recuperate his body, but he was almost burning up. Some of them were great enemies, but he didn't let any of them off. These people all had black faces and pinched their noses. In the end, they admitted it and more or less gave him some spiritual items. "Tao friend, when will the whirlpool in the damning Pure Land's divine hall close? Can you deduce it?" Someone asked impatiently. The old woman from the damning Pure Land replied, "The whirlpool is shrinking. According to our deduction, it might be closing soon. I think the last few people should be coming out soon." "Oh, that couldn't be better." Someone nodded. Whether it was the corpse race, the Tao race, the Buddhist race, the White Phoenix race, or the Golden Heavenly Spider race, they were all looking forward to the final return of the king. "This is Wu Luanhui. He's so young, so handsome, and more beautiful than a girl. Moreover, his cultivation is so powerful. He came back later than Ing Wudi and Yuan Shiqing. He's too amazing. There were many youngsters in the vicinity. They were all discussing spiritedly as they stared at Chu Feng. Don't be love-struck. Do you want to go over and get to know him? Another girl teased her companion. Forget it. His soul light is so powerful. If I dare to go over, I'll definitely be ignited. Let's wait for him to finish his seclusion before talking. Everywhere Chu Feng passed, many youngsters took the initiative to make way. Even though they really wanted to go forward to chat and befriend him, they couldn't stand his yang qi. He raised his head and saw Qin Luoyin in the distance. She was looking at him with her bright eyes and white teeth. Her style was peerless, and her goddess-like demeanor didn't diminish. Instead, she was even more extraordinary. Does she still remember me? Chu Feng didn't know. At this moment, it wasn't the time to acknowledge each other, so he couldn't greet her. But if it was proven in the end that he was the last one to return and the true king returned, would the damning Pure Land recruit him as Qin Luoyin's Dao companion? Chu Feng walked forward and saw Ing Zhixian in a glance. She was dressed in clothes whiter than snow. She was faintly discernible and otherworldly like a goddess of the moon as her sleeves fluttered in the wind. Chu Feng smiled and nodded at her. He had no way to approach her on his own because he had to go into seclusion. Time was very tight. Chu Feng needed to improve his corporeal body immediately or else problems would arise. But he wasn't worried because he had many good things on him. The things he smuggled back had deceived the few people guarding the Divine Hall from the damning Pure Land. Oh, I don't need too much time. A few days should be enough. I should be able to recuperate my corporeal body very quickly and truly unify my spirit and flesh to reach the strongest state. The damning Pure Land had already prepared cave residences for these geniuses, so they could go into seclusion at any time. When Chu Feng went into seclusion, a certain cave residence opened. More than half a year had passed, and he had finally come out with a healthy body. Old friend, go to the Divine Hall and take a look again. Is our clan's Qilin's son about to wake up? Some old monsters couldn't wait. Seeing how strong Wu Luanhui was, they all wanted to see the proud sons of heaven from their own clan return and stage the scene of a king's return. An old woman from the damning Pure Land nodded and said, "All right, don't worry. I guess they'll be back soon. I'll go take a look." Hee, old friend, don't worry. Good food isn't afraid of being late. You'll be able to witness the return of the true king soon. The old man from the Dao race smiled. He was confident that the Taoist from his clan could rise to power and return as the strongest king. In reality, the people from the Buddhist race were also very confident. They said with a faint smile, "There's no rush. We'll see them right away." Chapter 850. A storm was brewing in the damning Pure Land. At this moment, everyone was paying attention. Many platforms were reporting the latest news, attracting attention from all sides. Whether it was the Origin Beast platform, the Black Blood platform, or others, there were special personnel stationed to broadcast the latest developments to all races in the universe. This was approved by the damning Pure Land because the matter this time was too big. Even they themselves were somewhat anxious. After all, a year had passed and it still hadn't ended. The old monsters in the Pure Land hoped to publicize everything and be more transparent. In case of an accident, it wouldn't be good for the other races to find trouble with them. They couldn't be blamed. According to the latest report, Wu Luanhui, who has the humanoid monarch bloodline, has returned powerfully. His soul light soared into the sky, making the older generation feel palpitations and suppressed. Perhaps everyone still doesn't understand what the humanoid monarch bloodline is. Back then, in that extremely ancient era, a few human monarchs appeared. They joined hands and almost suppressed all races in the universe. It was said that once the humanoid monarch appeared, he would pacify all lands. Divine birds, demonic beasts, and all kinds of physiques couldn't compete with him. Without a doubt, Wu Luanhui's return caused huge waves. People paid even more attention to the remaining few people from the damning Pure Land. Let us wait and see who will be the final king. People's emotions were ignited in all parts of the universe. They exploded all of a sudden, and everyone was paying attention to this matter. That was because the few old monsters guarding the divine halls from the damning Pure Land had already prophesied that the final trial was about to end. The last few people should be returning soon. Not to mention the universe's starry skies, even the evolvers on Earth were paying attention. It could be seen how great the commotion was. Needless to say, the group of great demons from Mount Eternal knew what was going on. The Black Blood platform made further speculations. They said that the Buddhist race's Shi Hong would probably have the last laugh. His strength was too tyrannical and his soul light was peerless. After 100 years of enlightenment, he should surpass everyone. Some of the famous guests from the Origin Beast platform thought that Taoist Jin Lin had a greater chance of winning. He had grasped rare treasures and could break 10,000 techniques with one technique. The others couldn't stop him. For a moment, many platforms in the starry skies started to clamor. They were all predicting who would be the final king. Supporters from all sides argued endlessly. Stop arguing. You guys are really childish. Didn't you see the latest broadcast? Only the corpse race's divine son hasn't returned yet. The others have returned with remnant souls. The Shi Hong and Taoist Jin Lin are such people. Do you still need to ask who is the number one in the world and the true king? Someone from the corpse race spoke in a cold and aloof manner, which immediately made many people lose their temper. Of course, there were also many people who were unconvinced. Take the number one young expert of the Buddhist race from 60,000 years ago as an example. He also had a remnant soul that escaped first, but after the main soul returned, he was still able to suppress all the experts. What a joke! What are you guys fighting about? Who said only the corpse race is in good condition and hasn't returned? My deity race's main family, the emissary from the primal chaos universe, Luo Shurong, hasn't made a move either. The deity race spoke calmly. Even though the deity race's candidate from the Een realm cosmos had long since been eliminated, they still regarded Luo Shurong as one of their own and were incomparably conceited. Someone curled their lips. In the Netherworld universe, your deity race had been beaten to a pulp and your ranking had dropped 250. What was there to be conceited about? Sigh, it's a pity that Demon King Chu didn't go out to temper himself. Otherwise, he would also be able to contend for supremacy. Perhaps he would laugh until the end and become the ultimate king. When some people mentioned this, they all expressed their regret for Chu Feng. After this battle, Chu Feng can be considered to have fallen behind others. Most likely, he won't be able to compete with Ing Wudi, Jin Lin, Yen Luo, Luo Shurong, and the others anymore. Without 100 years of accumulation, he won't be those people's match anymore. Haha, why do I want to laugh? Demon Chu Feng, you've finally been defeated by others. You can no longer harm the geniuses of the universe's various races. Not bad. This time, Demon King Chu can be considered to have been completely left behind by the universe's top-notch geniuses. He won't be able to achieve anything. Some people felt that it was a pity, but naturally, there were also many people who rejoiced in his misfortune. They felt that Chu Feng was finished. After this battle, he couldn't obtain the greatest fortune and couldn't compare to the universe's strongest batch of geniuses. Don't be cocky. Be careful that the so-called heavenly pride of your clan will still be crippled by Demon King Chu after encountering him. He'll be beaten into a pig's head and run away like a rat. Some people refused to accept this and argued for Chu Feng. At the same time, they were truly sentimental and regretful for him. They felt that he was most likely going to fall behind others. Chu Feng? He shouldn't think too much about it. He wants to rise after provoking our damning Pure Land? At the very least, He shouldn't hope to be ranked at the apex of his generation in this generation. Someone from damning Pure Land responded. His tone was cold and indifferent, as if he didn't take it seriously. The group of great demons from Earth really wasn't anxious at all. Ever since they knew that Wu Luanhui had returned, they were completely at ease. Hee-haw, hee-haw, I'm looking forward to seeing Brother Chu Feng walk out of damning Pure Land and marry Qin Luoyin before he leaves. When that time comes, I'll see where damning Pure Land will put their face. The group of people had resentment because damning Pure Land was too arrogant. Back then, they didn't give Chu Feng a golden invitation. There were heated discussions in various parts of the universe recently. The attention of the world was focused on damning Pure Land. Everyone was looking forward to seeing who would have the last laugh. The location of the incident was in damning Pure Land. There were beautiful mountain peaks one after another, and the cave residence was enshrouded in spirit chi. Divine trees and spirit medicines exhaled auspicious energy and wafted in the air. Presently, the scenery here was peaceful, but all the powers were very nervous. They were all paying attention to the final result. Many of the older generation figures from various races had come. They were all waiting for their own Qilin children to return in the end. Don't tell me a group of monsters can persist longer than me and Wu Luanhui and return later? Ouyang Feng strolled in damning Pure Land with his black tortoise shell on his back. He took swan steps and slanted his eyes to look at people. He almost spat all over the ground as he was unconvinced. In the end, he couldn't preserve his memories. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in such a bad mood. Look, Jun Tuo's son has come out of seclusion. He's so powerful. His soul light is restrained and his blood chi is tyrannical. As expected of someone with the tyrant godhead, a dual physique. Saint Jun Tuo has a son at such a young age. He really has a successor. Unfortunately, he still hasn't returned from the dilapidated universe in the primal chaos. If he knew that he had a son like this, he would definitely be comforted in his old age. Motherf ****. Ouyang Feng's face darkened as he walked past those people with swan steps. He didn't say a word. If he wasn't waiting for Chu Feng, he really wanted to teach these evolvers how to behave and then kill his way out of damning Pure Land. At this moment, Chu Feng was in an abyss of suffering. He was recuperating his corporeal body and circulating his breathing technique. Yin Qi steamed around his body and crackled. His blood chi was sparkling and translucent before it dazzled brilliantly and illuminated the entire cave residence. After a simple examination of his own situation, Chu Feng opened his eyes and stopped his breathing technique. After that, he began to carefully set up a precise domain here that isolated him from the outside world. He was afraid that someone would spy on him. That was because some of his things couldn't see the light of day. Now that he was a domain grandmaster, there weren't many people who could see through him when he truly set it up. This could ensure his safety. Not long after, the domain runes here lit up. All kinds of symbols were like a sky full of stars. Chu Feng let out a long sigh and was completely at ease. He put down the spirit medicines he had borrowed from the elders of each race. There was a large pile of them, but they couldn't compare to the things he had on him. He had once risked his life to send the little vermilion bird back to the land of the fallen. He had once healed there and used up a drop of divine liquid. Before he set off again, the old vermilion bird had given him a few more drops and brought them all back. Other than that, there was also the vermilion bird's blood. He originally wanted to bring the little vermilion bird's feathers and blood to conduct experiments to see if they could be preserved after he returned this time. He never thought that the old vermilion bird would also give him a bit of blood at the last moment so that he could test just how terrifying the black vortex was. When he rushed out of the vortex, he used soul light to wrap these things up and instantly submerge them into his corporeal body. He successfully avoided the attention of a few golden monsters in damning Pure Land and wasn't discovered. Now, Chu Feng had taken everything out. The little vermilion bird's feathers and blood have been corroded and are definitely affected. It's hard to say whether it'll live or die if I really bring it back, but the old vermilion bird's divine blood is unharmed. The vermilion bird's divine blood sealed in the crystal in Chu Feng's hand emitted a gentle radiance and was glistening scarlet. With a crack, he slightly undid the seal. As a result, the entire cave abode became dazzling and scarlet multicolored light surged all of a sudden. It was too dazzling and incomparably resplendent. Thank you, Senior Vermilion Bird. I was originally only using it for experiments, but now I've completed my corporeal body. I can use this to cleanse my yin qi within a few days and strengthen my corporeal body by a large margin at the same time. The entire cave abode was scarlet multicolored light. A drop of blood dispersed and transformed into a scarlet flame that wrapped around Chu Feng's corporeal body, tempering and burning it. This was the vermilion bird's divine blood. This kind of creature was innately of the extreme yang attribute and possessed divine flame energy that could burn the heavens. Therefore, this kind of divine blood was simply terrifying. Several drops of the vermilion bird's divine blood fell every day in the next few days and transformed into a bloody mist that wrapped around Chu Feng's corporeal body. It made him groan continuously as he endured enormous pain. Amidst the sizzling sounds, the yin qi in his flesh and blood, the yin qi in his bone marrow, and the yin qi in his internal organs were incinerated. The scene was terrifying and shocking. Am I really a ghost? Why do I have so much yin qi? After the refinement, even Chu Feng began to doubt himself. Ever since he had formed his yang soul, he felt that his body was incompatible with it. His body was so cold and gloomy. Now, he was using the vermilion bird divine blood to nourish his body, which was equivalent to burning his flesh and blood, tempering his bone marrow and internal organs, and attacking the yin qi. This was not all. He still had the droplets of the divine medicine. This was the most important part of raising the strength of his physical body. Otherwise, he would not have the confidence to succeed in just a few days. This was a divine medicine that carried the energy of the Yang realm. It was much more powerful than the ones from the Yin realm universe, and its medicinal effects were incomparably shocking. The droplet was the essence of a stalk of godly herb. Moreover, this was the vermilion bird divine medicine. After it fused into Chu Feng's body, it drove away the yin qi one step further and nourished his physique, increasing the strength of his physical body. His whole body was sparkling and translucent. It became resplendent and blossomed with scarlet clouds and treasured light. Chu Feng circulated the robbery induction breathing technique here and then the thunderous breathing technique. Absorbing the essence of the divine medicine was twice the result with half the effort. In this place, there was a domain that he had personally laid down. With his grandmaster-level strength, he was not worried about being spied on at all. 4 days later, Chu Feng came out of seclusion. There were runes in his eyes. His physical body seemed to be connected with this part of the universe, and it was as if there were divine chains of order fusing with him. With a whoosh, all kinds of strange phenomena were withdrawn. He opened the cave residence and walked out. And on this day, the whirlpool in the divine temple in Damning Pure Land was also about to close. Many old monsters from various races had come, and people from various major platforms had also arrived. They were all fighting to report the final result. On this day, the wind and clouds were surging, and the whole world was paying attention to it. In the starry sea of the universe, all races were paying attention to which family the final king would fall to. A new year had arrived. 2018 new and happy. I wish everyone good health and happiness. Everything goes according to your wishes. Chapter 851. Chu Feng came out of seclusion calmly and stood outside the cave residence with a smile on his face. This pure land was enshrouded in dense spiritual energy. Multicolored beams of light fell from the elegant peaks one after another. Even the rocks in the surroundings were sparkling and translucent with the fragrance of orchids. The cobblestone path carried a fresh and natural aura as it led straight to the front of the cave residence. There were many strange trees nearby with sparkling leaves and blossoming flowers. They were all precious trees that could allow mortals to step on the path of evolution. Chu Feng breathed in the fresh air and felt refreshed. There was no one to disturb him in this area, and it was very quiet. But with his sharp hearing, he could more or less hear the clamor in the distance. A lot of people have come. The people from the Black Blood platform and the Origin Beast platform have all arrived. There are also the top 10 races in the universe. Could today be the closing day of the Maelstrom? Chu Feng was astonished and immediately understood why it was so lively in front of him. He could imagine that damning Pure Land was definitely filled with guests and a sea of people. They were all famous guests and geniuses from various places. Today, a major event was bound to happen. The entire universe was paying attention. Chu Feng stepped out of the cave residence area and walked on the cobblestone path. He passed through the verdant bamboo forest and listened to the gurgling stream beside him. His whole body was light and agile. Ordinary people couldn't understand how terrifying he was. Only those who truly came into contact with Chu Feng would discover how astonishing this 14 or 15-year-old beautiful youth was. At this moment, Chu Feng had adjusted his corporeal body. Even though it hadn't reached the level he was most satisfied with, it could already bear his vigorous and powerful soul light. A cliff still stood in front of him. It was lustrous purple and flowing with auspicious qi. There was a deep pool under the cliff emitting wisps of the aura of the great Tao. Moreover, there were runes flickering. Chu Feng was astonished. Damning Pure Land wasn't simple as expected. Any random scenery contained the power of order left behind by the predecessors. He stood there quietly and comprehended in silence. Then, he caused the deep pool to surge. Water splashed and all kinds of runes appeared. The power of laws pervaded the air. The main reason was that Chu Feng's current soul light was too powerful. His spiritual power was boundless and almost touched the quasi-sage realm. Naturally, he could sense the abnormality here. Right now there was no one around, so he directly examined himself. His body shone and blood energy surged. It was as if a slumbering humanoid true dragon had awakened. He immediately became powerful and terrifying. His soul light was boundless, and it blended with the order of the outside world. There seemed to be numerous and densely packed divine chains interweaving outside his body. This was order. It had taken a tangible form and extended out from the void to interweave with him. If he wanted to become a quasi-sage, this was the first step. However, Chu Feng didn't attempt to break through immediately. After all, he had just returned to the netherworld universe and needed to consolidate and adjust his physical body to its strongest state. Only 4 days had passed, and it was still a little rushed. Tao Comprehension Wall. Chu Feng immediately understood that this was a place of Tao comprehension. The comprehensions of the predecessors had transformed into order, condensed and inscribed at the bottom of the pool and between the stone walls for future generations to comprehend. His spiritual power was too powerful, so he directly touched it. It immediately attracted many divine chains of order to fall from the void, making him look like a divine spider spinning a web. After silently experiencing it for a long time, Chu Feng felt that it would be very helpful for him to break through into the quasi-sage realm. But now wasn't the time. He digested the comprehension here before restraining himself once more and calmly leaving. The depths of damning Pure Land were really bustling. Normally, an important place like the Divine Temple absolutely wouldn't allow outsiders to approach, but it was completely open today. They allowed people to report and so on in order to be open and transparent. They were afraid that an accident would happen to the last few geniuses in the Divine Temple and they would be held responsible. Chu Feng arrived and saw many familiar faces. Many of them were geniuses who had received golden invitations. He had seen them die in another world with his own eyes and return to this universe. However, most of the things that happened in that world could no longer be remembered by these people. Very soon, someone discovered him and immediately greeted him enthusiastically. "Look, Wu Luanhui has come out of seclusion. He's so fast. How can he come out so quickly? Other people enter seclusion for more than half a year. Could it be that he has already conditioned his physical body?" Brother Wu, a young man wearing azure gold armor, came forward. His name was Li Su and he could be ranked between 20 and 30 in this generation in the universe. "Oh, young man, you're not bad. You've come out of seclusion so quickly." There were also people from the older generation who greeted him. Chu Feng responded to them and greeted them. Quack, quack. The laughter of a male duck rang out. The black swan Ouyang Feng with a tortoise shell on his back rushed over and said, "You've finally appeared." Clearly, people raised their eyebrows after Chu Feng arrived here. Even though some people thought that he wasn't the main character this time and that the true king hadn't returned yet, there were still many people who flocked over, especially those from some platforms, to report on him. Naturally, the Black Blood platform and the others didn't aim their streamers and the best clairvoyant equipment at Chu Feng. Instead, they constantly paid attention to the movements at the Divine Temple. That was their main battlefield and needed special reporting. There were many people gathered at Chu Feng's place, including outstanding talents from various races. Even Yuan Shiqing, Yuan, and the others had appeared. They had long forgotten about that world and were chatting with Chu Feng. After that, Chu Feng saw Ing Wudi. He almost blurted out and called him brother-in-law, but he held back and came to his senses in the end. After Ing Wudi saw him, he originally wanted to greet him with a smile, but for some reason, a different kind of emotion appeared in him. His face darkened unknowingly as he didn't have a good temper toward Chu Feng and wanted to give him a bad look. Motherf ****. Chu Feng was truly speechless and wanted to give him a beating. How much resentment did this elder sister complex have? He had already returned and lost his memories of the land of the fallen, but he still had a dark expression when he saw him. What was this? "Brother Ing, are you feeling unwell? Why is your face so dark?" Yuan Shiqing asked in astonishment. "It's nothing. My state has been very good recently. I don't know what's going on either, but I feel indescribably fidgety in my heart." Ing Wudi himself didn't understand either. After that, he saw the smiling Chu Feng in front of him. In a split second, he knew the source of the fidgety, and for some reason, his face darkened even more. "Oh my, boundless deity Amitabha!" Chu Feng was extremely angry. This brother-in-law was really asking for a beating. Did he have such a strong ill will toward him in his heart? As soon as this face saw him, it became more and more King dark. At this moment, many people were paying attention to this place. Ing Xiaoxiao appeared bouncing and skipping. Her silver hair hung down to her waist, her big eyes were lively, and her eyelashes were very long. She was constantly blinking and her entire person was very lively. She was indescribably startled when she saw Chu Feng at a glance. After that, she blurted out, "Brother-in-law." It was just a clear and melodious cry, but everyone quieted down. Everyone cast sidelong glances and turned their heads to look in this direction, one after another. It was too astonishing. What did this devilish brat just shout? One had to know that the silver-haired little Lolita's origins were too great. She was Ing Wudi's younger sister, the little princess of the quasi-saint race, and the younger sister of the third most beautiful woman in the universe. She called someone else brother-in-law. This meaning was too obvious. For a moment, many of the youngsters present were petrified. They absolutely couldn't accept this. Didn't Ing Zhixian not have a Dao companion? There had never been any scandals. Huh? What's going on? Why do I feel that he's very amiable? I just want to call him like this? Ing Xiaoxiao mumbled. At this moment, Chu Feng really felt much more comfortable in his old bosom. Ing Wudi gave him a dark look as if he owed him 2 million. This sister-in-law was still the best. She called him affectionately upon seeing him, and actually remembered him. Her memory hadn't been completely erased. Ouyang Feng looked as if he had seen a ghost. He could tell that Ing Xiaoxiao should be calling out to Chu Feng because he was standing beside Chu Feng and could see everything clearly and vividly from this angle. Brother-in-law. The silver-haired little Lolita ran over and blinked her big eyes. She acted according to her instincts because she felt that she had forgotten something important and wanted to remember it. She allowed herself to recall it, so she ran over and even pulled on Chu Feng's sleeve. At this moment, everyone saw the suspicious target clearly and they were immediately tongue-tied. What was going on? Wu Luanhui was Qing Ying's son-in-law? In a split second, many young men heard the sound of their hearts breaking. It was too painful. The third most beautiful woman in the universe actually had a Dao companion? At this moment, Ing Wudi's face couldn't be any darker and was about to drip water. Yuan Shiqing and Yuan Yuan were speechless from the side. They really wanted to ask him whether he was alright or not. Ing Wudi finally knew the exact source of his anxiety. It really stemmed from Wu Luanhui. Why did his younger sister call this person brother-in-law? He was beyond furious. At the same time, Ouyang Feng looked like he was constipated. He was also dumbstruck as he looked at Chu Feng and the silver-haired little Lolita before looking for Ing Zhixian in the crowd. Ouyang Feng sighed ruefully in his heart and thought that this bastard Chu Feng really had some tricks up his sleeve. Impossible. Wu Luanhui and Fairy Ing didn't interact at all. How could they become Dao companions? Someone shouted. They couldn't accept this cruel reality. That's right. How could they? Little fairy, did you remember wrongly? Your family doesn't have any relationship with him. Some people spoke up one after another as they thought this devilish brat was playing a prank. However, Ing Xiaoxiao tilted her head and looked like she was thinking hard. She looked extremely vexed as she said, "It's true. I clearly feel that he's my brother-in-law and he's very intimate, but why can't I remember?" Ouyang Feng stuck his head out and looked around at the side. He swung his long swan neck and reminded her, "Could it be something that happened in another world?" "That's right. I feel that it should be something that happened in another world." Ing Xiaoxiao immediately came to a realization. Her large eyes lit up as she shouted, "Brother-in-law, do you still remember?" Beside her, Ing Wudi clutched his chest and felt his heart ache. His footsteps were unsteady as he staggered backward. His face was so dark that it was emitting a black light. Some of the young men beside him also turned pale. This blow was really too big. Huge news. Today's first big news has appeared. Ing Zhixian and Wu Luanhui are rumored to have become Dao companions in another world. The Origin Beast platform live-streamed this news immediately. In a flash, it caused a sensation on all the vital planets in the universe and caused a huge uproar. The Black Blood platform immediately regretted that they didn't pay enough attention to Wu Luanhui before and didn't give enough attention. They hurriedly made up for it by paying attention and reporting. Shocking. The quasi-saint race's princess got married and became Dao companions with someone in another world for tens to hundreds of years. The Black Blood platform exaggerated the report in order to attract attention. In just a moment, the universe's starry sky couldn't calm down anymore. There were heated discussions everywhere as many young people screamed in disbelief. In damning Pure Land, the little Taoist was restless and completely unsettled. This ant is really ruthless. The quasi-saint race is one of the strongest races in the universe. We can't afford to provoke them. What if they capture my father and make him their son-in-law? Won't my mother have a child before marriage? She'll definitely be unlucky after I'm born. Mother, charge forward. The little Taoist was a freak. A normal person should have been born long ago, but he had always been very stable. Cough, there's no such thing. Don't talk irresponsibly and don't report irresponsibly. Our quasi-saint race's Pearl has always been clean and self-respecting. In damning Pure Land, an old man from the quasi-saint race stood out with a face as black as the bottom of a pot. He could compete with Ing Woody, as he explained with all his might. Moreover, he threatened and warned the few big platforms. At this moment Ing Zhixian appeared. She was like the moon surrounded by many people as she walked over. She was faintly discernible and otherworldly as white mist lingered around her. Could be said that she was absolutely beautiful. Fairy Ing, do you still remember what happened in the other world? Do you have some kind of intimate relationship with Wu Luanhui? The people from the Black Blood platform were really daring as they asked and livestreamed like this. Chapter 852. Another year has passed. Why do I feel like I'm 1 year younger again? I wish everyone the opposite of growth, to become younger, to smile more and more, to have a smooth and happy study and work in the new year, and to maintain a good mood. I wish everyone a happy new year. In addition, I also want to talk about the monthly votes of the Holy Ground. Because some readers feel that it's not ideal to not be the first in the monthly votes in recent times. I also feel a little dizzy. Calm down, the expectations are too high. Since the end of October last year, there has been no mention of the monthly votes in the book. The words monthly votes have never been mentioned again. Naturally, there are only so many votes from readers. That's very good. During this period we can occasionally rush to the first place, and at the end of the month we can still be at the top. This is actually very heaven-defying. Thank you, everyone. It's good enough to read happily. Calm down, we don't need to fight for it. Of course, it's not that we don't allow everyone to vote, and it's not that the Holy Ground doesn't need the monthly vote. It's just that everyone can vote normally. It's all up to everyone. It's already very good that we can still be ranked at the top. I know that many people want to know the results of the Holy Ground. I can simply say that after being on the shelves for more than 10 days, the book broke the record for the average number of subscriptions on all platforms. As for the plot, from the beginning of the Holy Ground until now, Chu Feng is young and frivolous, laughing and joking around. Next, the big waves are about to begin. Last time, I reminded everyone to fasten their seatbelt. This time, I'll remind everyone again. There will be smiles, emotions, and a very, very intense plot. It's time to set off. Finally, I wish everyone a happy new year. Thank you for your support of the Holy Ground over the past year. Chapter 853. What happened to the King's return? All the vital planets in the universe were in an uproar. The evolvers of every race simply couldn't believe it as they stared at the photon computer. What was being broadcasted now? Those experienced and famous commentators were talking about a miserable competition? What on earth was going on? For a moment, the evolvers of every race in the universe were dumbfounded. They didn't understand at all. In particular, all the major races were looking forward to their Qilin children blossoming with resplendent light. In the end, what had they waited for? At this moment, some old monsters were preparing 1,000-year-old wine in their clans. Delicacies were laid out on the table as they faced the photon computer and sipped on it. They wanted to see their race's proud sons of heaven return and suppress the heroes. However, the report from the front lines was so sudden that it petrified them. They froze in place with dumbfounded expressions. Where was the promised king's divine ring? They were supposed to hold the line and become the strongest, looking down on their peers in the universe. In the end, they had all become a group of idiots. Boundless deity, you're pissing me off. Amitabha Buddha, Amitabha Golden Bodhisattva, damn you, where's our Arhat? In some places, many old fellows were usually as steady as a boulder and as quiet as a pine tree. But now, all of them were stamping their feet with blue veins popping out on their foreheads. The children serving them were dumbstruck. They realized that in the eyes of these old monsters, boundless deity and Amitabha were practically the same as their pet phrases. Afterward, the group of children were frightened and couldn't help but chant the mantra. Their voices were young and tender, carrying a slight tremble. Boundless deity, Amitabha Buddha. Everyone in the universe was dazed, as if they had drunk too much. They were dizzy and simply couldn't believe the live broadcast in front of them. Something like this happened? A group of geniuses were slaughtered? They weren't completely slaughtered, but a portion of their remnant souls came back. What a pity! Those old monsters were so happy and calm before, but now they're stamping with rage and trembling all over. Heavens, it's really become a miserable competition. Damning Pure Land is so chaotic. They're about to fight. Oh my, how's Taoist Jean Lin doing? There were many discussions in the starry skies like boiling water. The clamor was like a nuclear weapon being thrown into the originally expectant lake, triggering a powerful earthquake and a mushroom cloud that covered the sun. At this moment, damning Pure Land was really in a foul atmosphere and a mess. Near the shrine, there was a sea of people. There were simply too many guests from all over. There were older generation figures, universe-level geniuses who received golden invitations, and also outstanding young men and women who came with their elders to watch the ceremony. At this time, they were all quite shocked. Brother, pinch me. Did I hear wrongly? The so-called strongest prodigies in the universe have all become idiots? Shoo, lower your voice. Don't talk nonsense. No one thinks you're a mute. What idiot? It's just that the amount of soul light that came back is a bit less, that's all. He's at most an idiot now. Fellow Taoist, your younger sister is right. The so-called infatuation and stupidity are pretty much the same. Brother Luo, don't you want to live anymore? Aren't you rubbing salt in the wounds of the strongest clans? Don't you see those old monsters' eyes are red? They want to bite whoever they catch. Moreover, these great clans are extremely powerful. Perhaps they have divine soul medicines that can help them recover. They shouldn't be completely demented. Outside the shrine, a group of youngsters were chatting without restraint. They were completely unrestrained. Inside the shrine, a group of old monsters was stomping their feet. Their lips had turned purple and their eyes had already turned green. They wanted to fight with their lives on the line when they looked at everyone. Of course, the calm ones among them were still trying to save their race's proud sons of heaven. Child, wake up. Don't be so stupid. The elder of the purple cloud Taoist body was pouring soul medicines into his mouth. He wanted nothing more than to recover immediately. Now, forget about returning with glory and being number one in the world. It was fine as long as he could return to normal and not become a fool. The elder of the superfluous combat physique also growled. My race's divine son, you've already been thinking for more than a year. You're clearly a heaven-bestowed genius. You once asked 3 questions. Who am I? Where do I come from? Where do I go? You pointed directly to the essence of the great Tao and made people of my generation sigh in admiration. You're indeed a hero rarely seen in the universe with such aptitude. What's going on today? Is the heavens jealous of a hero? Those old monsters among the guests who had nothing to do with them secretly rolled their eyes after hearing this. They really wanted to say that those 3 questions of the great Tao had only suppressed everyone in the beginning. Now it seemed that it was clearly the divine son of their race who had become stupid and was trying hard to recall himself. But no one dared to say it. If anyone dared to mention it, it was guaranteed that a bloody battle would break out. Young Buddha, this is the Amitabha scripture. Come and recite it once and see if you can recover your soul light. An old monk pulled Shi Hong and made him recite the ancient Amitabha scripture. Why can Shi Hong still recite scriptures, but my race's combat physique can't? The elder of the superfluous combat physique's eyes were scarlet as he stared at the Buddhist race's side. The old monk turned hostile and said, Amitabha Buddha, damn you, can't you see? My race's guardian Vajra Wu can't recite scriptures either. He's dumbstruck now and is even more miserable than your race's divine son. Wah! A loud wail came from the other side. The old monster from the corpse race emitted wisps of Yin-Chi all over his body. His eyes were glossy green like a hungry wolf, and even his wail was so unpleasant to hear and terrifying. He yelled, "Why? Your race's divine son, combat physique, and young Buddha all have spiritual consciousness? Why is my family's Chilan son so miserable? He can't move at all and has no reaction at all. Where's his soul light? Even his remnant soul didn't escape back. Heavens, are you jealous of a hero? Deity's descendant, why are you like this?" Their corpse race's body was originally ice-cold and didn't have any warmth to speak of. But now, why is the genius from my deity race's ancestral land also like this? His whole body is ice-cold. Luo Shurong, emissary, what's wrong with you? The heavens are unfair. The people from the deity race were also wailing in grief as they compared themselves to those from the corpse race. Nonsense. How are my corpse race's people ice-cold? Their Yin blood is exuberant. The old man from the corpse race refuted. How tragic! My race's Tao child Jean Lin's rare material has been lost. This is something we've accumulated for tens of thousands of years. We've kept it all the way until this generation to give it to our race's Tao child to use, but it's actually lost. My white phoenix race's young master brought a ball of true phoenix soul blood with her before she left. Unexpectedly, it's gone and hasn't returned. A group of people near the shrine were speechless. This place had really become a competition of wretchedness. Each and every one of those old monsters was mad with hatred and veins popped up on their faces. As they narrated, everyone was alarmed and jumpy. These clans had deep foundations, and those proud sons of theirs all carried rare treasures and great killing weapons on them. They had suffered disastrous losses. Even Chu Feng was speechless. He seemed to have missed something. When he killed the White Phoenix race's young master back then, he didn't search carefully. As it turned out, there was still a ball of Phoenix soul blood. He reckoned it was only Yin blood, so he wouldn't regret it for a lifetime. Ladies and gentlemen, evolvers and friends from various vital planets in the universe. Hello, I'm Ling Wuchang from the Black Blood platform. I'm risking my life to broadcast for you at the forefront. The major clans are really miserable. These old monsters are going crazy, and the wretchedness competition is in progress. As you can see, their eyes are all red and they want to kill at any moment. I'm standing so close to the front and using my life to broadcast for you. While the Black Blood platform was broadcasting, the commentator would occasionally say a few stirring words to show off his achievements. Then, he suffered a tragedy. But he was really smashed by a slap. Fortunately, the celestial eye was sturdy and couldn't be destroyed unless one was a saint. He escaped this calamity. The old monster from the Black Blood platform hurriedly went forward to block him. He roared angrily and changed the announcer. Ladies and gentlemen, the wretchedness competition is now reaching its climax. Do you see it? My colleague has been smashed to death. This is using his life as a sacrifice. The risk is too great. Alright, the live broadcast continues. After the first tragedy of the quasi-saint race, the second tragedy is the death of the corpse race's Chilan child. The third tragedy is the Buddha child going crazy. The wretchedness competition was in full swing and shook the entire universe. Evolvers everywhere felt that it was too crazy. After that, it was unknown who in damning Pure Land suddenly started to pay attention to Chu Feng because it seemed that he was the last one to return. Wu Luanhui, the true king, has returned. He's the number one person in this generation in the universe. There was a young girl with her hands clasped over her heart with an excited expression on her face. In a split second, everyone came back to their senses. This was a fact. Wu Luanhui could be considered the true final king. The main souls of the other people who were favored had all been killed. especially when they thought about how a god had specially come for him not too long ago. This was simply shocking everyone. It was too shocking. In a split second, everyone looked at Chu Feng with different gazes. This was the final victor, the strongest voice of the universe's younger generation. A god. What did he call himself? A martial god. He once risked his life to find Wu Luanhui to settle the score. It can be seen how much of a storm Wu Luanhui stirred up in that world. He killed the martial god's descendant and definitely did other big things. He's really a young hero. Someone sighed. When a group of youths looked at Chu Feng, they all revealed astonished expressions. There were even many genius young girls in the universe who had charming smiles on their faces as they greeted Wu Luanhui with peculiar expressions. Oh no! The Black Blood Platform's commentator also realized that something was wrong. He didn't pay enough attention to Wu Luanhui earlier and didn't even aim his heavenly eye at him. The Origin Beast Platform's commentator had an excited expression on his face. He had long since stood in front of Wu Luanhui and carried out all kinds of live broadcasts. There was no doubt that Wu Luanhui's face was known throughout the entire universe after this day. Everyone saw this beautiful and slightly inexperienced face. He looked to be 14 or 15 years old. His face was exquisite and handsome, surpassing many girls. Especially his pair of eyes that were as pure as crystals, clear and flawless. He looked incomparably pure. It was precisely such a youth who came out on top and became the strongest voice among his peers. He was the true king's return. Everyone, please remember that this is King Luanhui Wu Luanhui. Back then, he fought Demon King Chu Feng inextricably. Now, he should be far superior to Demon King Chu. Someone from the Black Blood Platform came over to join in the fun and introduced with passion. What does Chu Feng have to compare with Wu Luanhui now? They can't be mentioned in the same breath. Now, one is in the sky and the other is on the ground. An old woman from Damring Pure Land smiled. At this time, the old monster from the corpse race noticed Wu Luanhui outside the shrine. His eyes were green and terrifying when he saw him. He shouted, "Wu Luanhui, why did you come back in one piece while my race's Qilin child died in a foreign land?" Outside the shrine, Chu Feng was stunned and rather loathed him. In reality, the others were also speechless. Earlier, the old monster from the corpse race had a proud appearance and was fearless. He had once patted Chu Feng's shoulder in public and said that he wasn't bad. The implication behind his words was that he was far inferior to the corpse race's Qilin child. But now, the corpse race's Qilin child had really become a corpse while Wu Luanhui had truly risen. A group of people were watching the show. They felt that the corpse race was too ostentatious before and now they had lost all face. They had become one of the most miserable people in the assembly. Old monster, don't make wild guesses. Someone couldn't continue watching and said this. However, murderous intent soared in the shrine. The people from the other races, including the Tao race, the golden heavenly spider, and the superfluous combat physique, all had chilly gazes as they looked over to this side and stared at Wu Luanhui. Even that old monk from the Buddhist race, who paid particular attention to worldly affairs, had a terrifying gaze as he locked onto Chu Feng. Chu Feng was sick and tired in his heart. This group of old monsters wanted to shamelessly implicate him. Fortunately, he was the one who did it. Otherwise, wouldn't he have been wrongly accused to death? For a moment, all the heavenly eyes were aimed at him. At this moment, Wu Luanhui had an innocent expression on his face. His young and beautiful face was full of puzzlement. At the same time, his eyes were pure and flawless without a trace of ripples. The eyes were the window to the soul, as if they could see the bottom of his heart. He gave people a feeling that he was too pure. Seniors, I don't understand what you mean. I'm also very sad that these Tao brothers had an accident. Brat, come over here. The old monster from the corpse race spread open his arms. a large pitch-black hand that was as big as a dustpan stretched out with a rumble. It brought along astonishing energy waves and the void was trembling. Cracks were about to appear. Qi overflowed into the sky as if a malicious spirit had come into being. However, Wu Luanhui's expression didn't change in the slightest. He stood there calmly and suddenly raised his hand to slap over. It was simple and direct. Bang! After that, the old monster from the corpse race who was at the perfect golden body realm coughed up a large mouthful of blood the next moment. He staggered backward and almost flew horizontally as the qi around his body boiled. As for the group of people in the surroundings, they all felt a pressure as if Mount Tai was pressing down on them. That frail youth was like an ancient divine mountain that had awakened. He was also like a humanoid immortal beast that was suffused with blood qi. It was too terrifying. Rip. This wasn't the end yet. The yang qi that Chu Feng leaked was like raging flames that burned the void. It made the old monster from the corpse race turn deathly pale as he quickly ran toward the depths of the shrine with a horrified expression on his face. This kind of yang qi was a natural restraint on the corpse race. It made him feel absolutely horrified. If he was really engulfed inside, he would definitely be crippled. Even so, the qi emitted from his body was burned cleanly. His golden body level energy was completely disintegrated and dissipated into nothingness. Everyone in the vicinity trembled. It was mainly because Wu Luanhui looked pure and frail, but the blood qi that pervaded the air simply overflowed as he stood there without moving. It pressed down on the entire void and intimidated people's spirits and souls. No matter who it was, the experts from all sides were scared and couldn't help but tremble. It was as if they were looking at a young divine king standing on the spot. His style was outstanding and he was extremely powerful and invincible. Chu Feng walked into the shrine in strides. Immediately, the old monster from the corpse race was terrified as he continuously retreated. The heavenly eyes of every major platform were all aimed at the shrine as they closely broadcasted Wu Luanhui's current style. No one expected Wu Luanhui to not be overbearing and aggressive. Instead, he was very amiable as he sighed and said, "Seniors, I understand your feelings, but your Dao brother's misfortune has nothing to do with me. It's not like I killed them. Generations of people of the same generation competed against each other. In the end, regardless of whether they lived or died, wouldn't they all turn into soul rain and return? I think the gods of that world definitely made a move. For example, that person just now. Only he has that kind of ability to make us stay behind." It could be said that the martial god carried this blame calmly and helplessly as he was ruthlessly pinned on by Chu Feng. Wu Luanhui was calm and unhurried, as he said a lot of things here to console the old monsters of the few races. He was fairly frank and immediately moved many people. Even if there were some old monsters in the Divine Hall who were still hostile toward him, and they hated him for being able to survive while the Qilin children of their own race had died tragically, they didn't dare to say anything now. Everyone realized that this Wu Luanhui was terrifyingly powerful and could possibly step into the quasi-saint domain at any time. How old was he? He looked like he was 14 or 15 years old. This was really too heaven-defying. For a moment, whether it was the old fellows from the damning Pure Land or the quasi-saint race, their eyes emitted divine light as they recognized Chu Feng as a good match for the saintess of their race. The eyes of the two clansmen collided and sparks immediately splashed in all directions as they decided to fight over it. "Senior, I see that Taoist Jinlin is especially amiable. This comes from the soul. I think we definitely fought shoulder to shoulder in the foreign realm before." Chu Feng arrived at the Dao race's side and said seriously. In reality, he obviously looked amiable. Snatching the world's rare material from Jin Lin's hands was too beneficial for him. If he had the chance to go to the Yang realm in the future, it could help him cultivate a few of the strongest wonderful techniques in the Yang realm. This was the strongest foundation. Jin Lin also raised his head when he saw Chu Feng. There weren't many remnant souls that came back, but they were at least stronger than superfluous combat physique and the others. They could still open their mouths and speak, but their reactions were slightly slower. Strange. Looking at you, my soul light is also heating up. I have a good impression of you, said Taoist Jin Lin. Chu Feng was stunned. This was practically a god-level assist. Very soon, he realized why it was like this. It was because Jin Lin had absorbed the other party's world's rare material, so he should have a good impression of that kind of thing. However, he wasn't worried. The yellow-furred fox had taught him a way to conceal himself, so he wasn't afraid of the Tao race searching for him. Chu Feng said with a stern expression, "Oh, I seem to have some vague memories. We were chased by the martial god's descendants in that world. After that, Taoist brother met with misfortune. I went into hibernation and used several decades to finally kill the martial god's descendants to avenge my brother. Unfortunately, it's too vague, so I can't remember. That's all. This should be like this. Didn't the martial god kill his way over just now? I think Taoist, young Buddha, and the others should have encountered the god lineage's pursuit in that world. Wu Luanhui is truly supremely righteous. He fought for several decades. He's truly loyal." Outside the shrine, someone sighed emotionally and made this kind of deduction. After that, Chu Feng arrived in front of superfluous combat physique, Shi Wu, purple cloud Taoist body, and the others. He also said, "I see that you Taoist brothers are also very amiable. We must be good brothers who went through life and death together in that world." These few people were currently in a foolish state. They were somewhat inferior to Jin Lin, the golden heavenly spider, and the winged godhead, so they naturally wouldn't refute him. They looked dumbfounded. At this moment, the people of the Black Blood platform were stirring up emotions to make up for their previous mistake. Because they didn't pay enough attention to Wu Luanhui in the beginning, they didn't even aim their heavenly eyes at him. Now, the people of the Black Blood platform were exaggerating intensely. That new commentator was full of emotions as he said, "Supremely righteous King Luanhui lives up to his reputation. Why did the martial god kill his way over? Wu Luanhui is taking revenge on the geniuses of our world and drawing the pursuit. Wu Luanhui, Jin Lin, superfluous combat physique, Shi Hong, the corpse race's divine son, Yen Luo, and the others must have supported each other and fought together. In the end, they were killed one by one. Only Wu Luanhui persisted. He's loyal enough to take revenge for them. I can't describe the exquisite brotherly affection, but I can imagine it. It's really too touching." This was a live broadcast to every corner of the universe. In just a split second, all kinds of praises regarding the supremely righteous King Luanhui spread to every corner of the Starry Sea. It couldn't be said that it was deeply rooted in people's hearts, but it almost made people have a strong first impression. Chapter 854. At this moment, everyone in the universe knew that there was a youth called Wu Luanhui, the supremely righteous Luanhui king. The key was that the commotion in damning Pure Land this time was too great. It affected the hearts of the evolvers from every race in the starry skies, especially at the last moment. They all wanted to see who was the strongest and who had the last laugh. Now, everyone saw that it was actually Wu Luanhui, such a delicate and pretty youth. Supremely righteous Luanhui king? The little Taoist was also mumbling in Qin Luoyin's stomach. After that, he started to cry out in pain and said, "Ouch, I sprained my old waist. Is this grandpa going to die from laughter?" He supported his small waist and really couldn't bear it anymore. He wanted to spit at his father. How could this be possible? His memories were still preserved, and he clearly knew what happened in the other world. Wasn't the main soul light of these people eliminated by his father? In the end, he was calling his father brothers and saying that his father's supremely righteous Luanhui king was such a disgraceful father. Ouch, my old waist really hurts. At the same time, I need to feel sorry for the corpse race and Tao race for 3 seconds. The little Taoist was convinced. This heartless father eliminated a group of enemies, and was still so sought after coming back. There really wasn't anyone else who was too thick-skinned. This father is really deceitful. He lacks too much morality and is truly insincere. Why is he even worse than me in my previous life? He muttered to himself as he compared and reflected on himself. After that, the little Taoist was suspicious. Could it be that he was reincarnated as this father's son because his temperament and character were similar? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible and somewhat reasonable. This might be the so-called, if you weren't from the same family, you wouldn't enter through the same door. The little Taoist's teeth hurt because his current ability was very strong. He could see Chu Feng's appearance, and the more he looked, the stranger he felt. That was because this father of his was too delicate and pretty. Now, not to mention outsiders, even he felt that this father was a good person. With such a clear pair of eyes that were as flawless as crystals, one could tell at a glance that he was a typical simple-minded youth, and even a little silly and adorable. Amazing, this is returning to one's natural state. Filthy and dark to the extreme, yet pure instead. This realm isn't something an ordinary person can achieve. I could only compete with him when I was at my peak state in my previous life, as expected of the person who can be my father. The little Taoist's comments were actually quite emotional here, and they even appreciated each other's talents. Then, he felt his body rumble, his head trembling, a wave of great pain. This was a slap from his mother, directly beating him. What's going on with this mother? Didn't they say that people who aren't part of the same family don't enter the same house? Could it be that she still hasn't discovered how two-faced she is? The little Taoist expressed his doubts. Then, he was slapped a few more times. Right now, everyone in the universe was paying close attention to Damning Pure Land. All of them were watching the livestream on every major platform. Inside the Divine Hall, Wu Luanhui's small face was pure and pure. His eyes were the window to one's soul as they were sparkling and translucent. His words were gentle here as he softly consoled the troops of the few races. Brother Jinlin, I believe that you will recover very soon. When the time comes, we will explore the various forbidden areas of the universe together. You and I were fated in another world, and we will definitely be fated in our own universe. Wu Luanhui had a serious look on his face. He was eyeing the Tao race's heaven and earth rare treasure. What if he could still take one out? He didn't feel guilty at all because these people wanted to kill him. Furthermore, they despicably joined hands to ambush him. If he wasn't strong enough, he would have been killed by this group of people. After that, he walked to the next place and looked at Shihong. Young Buddha, look at the golden light lingering around your entire body. It's as though you're the reincarnation of a Buddha. I can tell that you're a person with great wisdom at a glance. I believe that you can get better very quickly and reproduce the elegant demeanor of one of the best heaven's favored ones in the universe. After that, he went to exaggerate superfluous combat physique and said, Superfluous combat physique's name shakes the world. I always feel that Tao brother was very tragic in the other world. You paid the price for our escape. We should remember your kindness. When Chu Feng arrived in front of the corpse race and saw Yen Luo, he also had a slight headache because he had thoroughly gotten rid of this lord. The corporeal body of the corpse race's divine child should exist forever. Perhaps one day, his corporeal body can communicate with the spirit and regain spiritual wisdom. He will be like the first-generation corpse race's primogenitor with unfathomable divine might and will certainly become the corpse race's Qilin child. At the side, the old monster from the corpse race was rather speechless when he heard this. He didn't say much about their race's Qilin child, but in the end, he became a dead child. Now that he heard the words Qilin child again, it was really more ear-piercing. He really wanted to slap Chu Feng to death, but he didn't dare to act recklessly now. He had already experienced Wu Luanhui's strength just now. It was too terrifying. Even someone as powerful as him, who was at the level of the perfect golden body realm, wasn't Wu Luanhui's match at all. If he really attacked again, he reckoned that he would either be blown up by the other party's fist or be burned alive by the other party's yang qi. When Chu Feng walked in front of Luo Shirong, he felt another toothache. It was another person who had been thoroughly gotten rid of by him. Brother, with the aptitude of a celestial god, perhaps your divine soul won't be extinguished and you can still be resurrected in the future. He continued to walk like this. His tone was gentle as he revealed a sympathetic and calm expression. He consoled each race and said good things. Not bad. This child isn't old, but he's neither arrogant nor rash. He's very calm. He should be considered to be the final return of a king, but he doesn't have a trace of arrogance. He's truly a Qilin child. In the distance, an old monster who had nothing to do with this matter sighed in admiration. He recognized Wu Luanhui very much. Even though he was praised, Chu Feng still felt a toothache after he heard it. He was rather sensitive to terms like Qilin child and Qilin child because he always heard the corpse race say it before. Heroes come from the youth. It's truly the strongest voice of this generation in the universe. King Luanhui's reputation is well deserved. Another old monster nodded and said with a smile. As for the group of youngsters, there was no need to talk about it. When all was said and done, the strong were respected in the evolutionary world. This time, Wu Luanhui became the final king. Moreover, he displayed extraordinary strength just now and could easily suppress the old monster of the corpse race. This made them all shocked. As expected of the Luanhui king. His strength is unfathomable. He could fight evenly with the great demon King Chu Feng back then. Now, he's even more invincible. Sigh, how old is he? He's only 14 or 15 years old, but it's possible for him to become the #1 expert of the young generation. He's truly world-shocking. As for the group of female geniuses, there was no need to talk about it. Some of the young girls were giggling and teasing each other. They waved at Wu Luanhui and took the initiative to tease him. Everyone, do you see this? This is the supremely righteous Wu Luanhui. His style is outstanding and he's a young hero who has convinced everyone from the Tao race, the Buddhist race, and the corpse race. The people from the Black Blood platform were reporting. They still looked impassioned and it could also be considered a very positive promotion of Chu Feng. After that, the Origin Beast platform and the others were unwilling to fall behind. They spoke one after another and embellished the situation to the extreme. Supremely righteous Wu Luanhui, everyone, do you see this? This is a youth who dared to kill the descendant of a god. He made the foreign martial gods angry and set off a monstrous storm. Now that the king has returned, he has convinced every race. At this moment, the corpse race, the white phoenix race, the Tao race, the golden heavenly spider race, and the other old monsters in the shrine had gloomy expressions. What the F***ck did he mean by convinced? Their own divine son had died. They had as much resentment in their hearts. They wished they could slap Wu Luanhui to death immediately. How could they be convinced? If Wu Luanhui wasn't strong enough, there would have been people among them who wanted to make a move again. They were completely subdued by Wu Luanhui's martial strength. Not bad, the supremely righteous Wu Luanhui is really a bright and brilliant young hero. Many people chimed in one after another. Many people in every part of the universe were praising him. It was as if they could see a king's star rising slowly and illuminating the entire universe's void. Earth, Mount Eternal. Roar, haha. This was the Manchurian tiger roaring and then laughing heartily. Moo! The big black yak's 4 hooves faced the sky as he lay there drinking wine. He was laughing like a flower branch. His black belly was trembling. Hee-haw, Grandpa Donkey is dying from laughter. This group of old monsters pinched their noses and listened to people praise Wu Luanhui over there. Supremely righteous Wu Luanhui, haha, they naturally knew what was going on. A group of great demons more or less brought back some memories. After that, they pieced together the things they remembered and could more or less restore all kinds of truth. As a result, they were dumbstruck as they looked at Chu Feng pretending over there while looking at the other parties, acting over there. Their faces really twitched incessantly and the wine in their mouths sprayed out non-stop. At this moment, the old monsters of damning Pure Land were incomparably distressed. How were they going to settle this matter this time? Even though all the details had been publicized, it was too miserable to let the outstanding talents of a few great races encounter accidents after all. Of course, there was an even more pressing matter at the moment. It was extremely important, and that was the bride kidnapping. They had to make Wu Luanhui stay, and not let the quasi-immortal race snatch him away. Fortunately, they had long since spread the news that if the damning Pure Land Saintess were to choose a Tao companion, she would choose the strongest person who participated in this trial. Everyone, we have something to announce here. It's about Wu Luanhui's final. An old woman from damning Pure Land was rather decisive. She wanted to announce it in front of everyone right away and settle the matter first before anything else. However, at this moment, a clear and melodious voice of a child rang out from afar. A silver-haired little Lolita skipped over. She was a beautiful mess and a sweet smile hung on her little face as she shouted, "Brother-in-law! Motherf ********. The face of the old woman from damning Pure Land immediately darkened and her body stiffened. She looked toward the quasi-immortal race, and just happened to see an old monster squinting his eyes with a smile on his face. The old woman from damning Pure Land immediately knew that this old fellow was playing a dirty trick. Was he trying to create a fait accompli? She felt that it was too shameful and too despicable. Previously, the quasi-immortal race refused to admit it no matter what and directly didn't approve of it. Now, they actually instructed this little Lolita to call him brother-in-law. She felt that this old monster was too shameless. Oh my, what kind of situation is this? My heart is about to break. They are really Tao companions? A few youngsters at the side shouted loudly as they clutched their chest. Ingwudi was also clutching his chest. He felt as though his heart was aching as though it was a child clutching his heart. His complexion turned pale before turning black again. Yes, this little girl must be joking. Wu Luanhui is the Tao companion of our damning Pure Land Saintess. At this moment, the old woman was rather decisive as she announced this in front of everyone. Oh my! Someone accidentally bit his own tongue. He simply didn't dare to believe his own ears. Did damning Pure Land also want to snatch Wu Luanhui? The key was that the quasi-immortal race had already made their move. In the end, damning Pure Land didn't avoid it and directly joined in. Both parties wanted to kidnap the bride. Chapter 855. Oh my God, this is a reversal of the gods. Everyone, did you hear that? Two races are fighting over a bride for their respective goddesses? My heart hurts so much. The Black Blood Platform's commentator learned from Ingwudi. He looked as though he was holding his heart in his hands, and kept on shouting that his heart hurt. The Origin Beast Platform's commentator also shouted, an illusory scene has appeared at the scene. I might have seen or heard wrongly. The damning Pure Land and the quasi-immortal race are looking for a bride at the same time, and they've all recognized Wu Luanhui? For a moment, the universe's starry skies were shaken. The influence of the live broadcasts from several platforms was enormous and boundless. It alarmed many evolvers who were paying attention to the damning Pure Land. Some people were completely petrified and dumbfounded. They stared at the photon computer and felt that it was a bit fake no matter what. Was this real? The Black Blood Platform's commentator was very exaggerated as he said, Everyone, I'm at the forefront of the scene. Not only is Wu Luanhui the final ultimate king, but it looks like he also won the beauty. Two powerful races have all recognized him. To speak the truth, I want to die. Qin Luoyin is the goddess of my dreams. Everywhere in the universe was completely shaken. Many people were roused. Wait a minute, I've drunk too much. What did that monkey-like commentator from the Black Blood platform say just now? Is he sick in the head? A super-famous character from a certain race stared at the photon computer while drinking wine. He was still watching the tragedies of the various races in the damning Pure Land. He squinted his eyes and smiled as though it didn't concern him. But now, he was roused from his drunkenness. His expression changed abruptly as he slapped the table and stood up. Our race has long since reserved the wife of the quasi-immortal race. We still want to unite by marriage. Ouch, my heart is splitting open. It hurts so much. My goddess, my fairy, why do they have to marry the same person? Are they going to stage a show of two women fighting for a husband? Some young people beat their chests and stamped their feet. It looked like if Wu Luanhui was in front of them, they would fight first regardless of whether he could win or not. Some young people with intense reactions even raised their blade. They wanted nothing more than to kill their way to the damning Pure Land and have a decisive battle with Wu Luanhui. Even in the damning Pure Land, there were people with snow-white faces who couldn't accept this. For example, Ing Wudi was covering his chest and whispering, "How can my sister marry this immature brat? Moreover, I feel irritated when I see him." Why? Ing Wudi asked himself over there. Chu Feng could see everything clearly. He was standing in the palace hall, sizing up the people outside. He was furious. This brother-in-law of his was innately at odds with him. What is love in this world? It makes one devote their lives to it. There were also scholars who sighed towards the heavens, putting on a depressed appearance. It was as if there was nothing left to live for. Of course, there was no lack of people who hated Wu Luanhui. Chu Feng really wanted to say, "What does this have to do with me?" They hadn't even truly become Dao companions yet, but he already felt a chill run down his spine. The group of youngsters were like hungry wolves, their eyes all green as they stared at him. Why? I suddenly feel that the great demon Chu Feng is very cute. He's 100 times better than this Wu Luanhui. Someone shouted in grief and indignation. That's right. Great demon Chu Feng has a true temperament and is a true hero. He sold so many divine sons and saintesses, but he didn't touch anyone. This Wu Luanhui is too hateful. Yes, great demon Chu Feng, where are you? Why don't you strike this Wu Luanhui to death? A group of youngsters cursed over there. Some people's voices reached Chu Feng's ears. Many of them were universal geniuses who had received golden invitations. Wu Luanhui felt a toothache. If it wasn't for maintaining his supremely righteous state, he really wanted to go over and beat them up one by one. He would sell those who should be sold and beat those who should be beaten up. The only thing that comforted Chu Feng was that the silver-haired little Lolita didn't care. She broke through the obstruction and entered the divine palace hall. She hugged Chu Feng's arm and called out sweetly, "Brother-in-law." The group of youngsters outside the palace hall clenched their fists tightly. Even a few old women from damning Pure Land had ugly expressions on their faces. They felt that the quasi-saint race was playing dirty. Cough. In the distance, Ing Wudi coughed. After that, a trace of indiscernible scarlet appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he quickly wiped it away. "Brother Ing, what's wrong? Your older sister is going to get married and has chosen a Dao companion. You should be happy. Why do I feel that your face is becoming darker and darker?" Princess Yuan Yuan of the Origin Demon race asked with a smile. "It's nothing. I'm very happy." Ing Wudi had to swallow his pride and bite the bullet. In the distance, the corner of Chu Feng's mouth twitched. This brother-in-law of his could really go against his conscience and speak. Fine, let him hold it in. Little friend, what do you think? In the divine palace, the corner of the Tao race's elder's mouth twitched. He originally wanted to propose marriage to the quasi-saint race on behalf of Taoist Jean Lin. Yes, little friend. Which one will you choose? The White Phoenix race's elder endured his grief. At this moment, he actually had the leisure to join in the chaos. He mocked Chu Feng and wanted to see how he would express his stance. When the time came to choose one, he would definitely hurt the other race's face. In a split second, regardless of whether it was the quasi-saint race or the damning Pure Land, their expressions changed. They were in the midst of an intense battle and communication in the dark. No matter what choice they made, they couldn't openly tear each other apart. They had to be a little more harmonious, and the old monsters of the other races clearly didn't have good intentions. Quasi-saint race, you guys are too excessive. Could it be that you're bullying the weak? Do you think my damning Pure Land isn't a match for you? This was naturally a secret interrogation that couldn't be said in public. The quasi-saint race's elder wasn't anxious or impatient as he said, "How can that be? You guys have to know that my race's little princess, Ying Xiaoxiao, called Wu Luanhui brother-in-law long ago. Since the exiled immortal has already become Tao companions with him in another world, we naturally have to fulfill their wishes. Could it be that we want to break up a pair of lovebirds? On the contrary, why does your damning Pure Land have to interfere? You guys clearly didn't approve of Wu Luanhui earlier and denied it in public. My damning Pure Land announced to the public a year ago that we're going to choose a Tao companion for the Saintess, and the candidate is the strongest person in this trial." A group of elders were fighting a war of words in secret. They immediately started to pinch each other, and each of them spoke of their own reasons. "Brother-in-law, you can't just eat the cake and not acknowledge it." The silver-haired little Lolita in the divine hall really had a big mouth. She dared to say anything and force him to abdicate here. This kind of words made her older sister want to beat her up. She was too hateful. Even the faces of a few quasi-saint races elders twitched. They really wanted to strangle her to death. Calling her brother-in-law was already bold enough, but how could she say such words? She didn't leave a way out at all. If Wu Luanhui and Ying Zhixian didn't become Tao companions in the end, how could the quasi-saint race endure it? The eyes of an old woman from damning Pure Land were brilliant. She also threw caution to the wind. Seeing that the quasi-saint race didn't leave a way out, she was also very straightforward as she said, "Little Taoist Wu, since you've come to the trial, you should know our rules. The final victor will become Tao companions with our race's saintess." At this moment, Ying Zhixian was brought into the divine hall by an elder. She was cold and otherworldly. Her white clothes were pure and holy, and her fine black hair was like a waterfall. Her entire person was quick-witted and otherworldly. Qin Luoyin also came. She was dressed in splendid clothes and a brightly colored skirt. She was graceful and luxurious. She had a slender waist, long legs, and a swan-like neck. Her face was absolutely beautiful and carried the air of a goddess. She was calm and unperturbed. Both women were peerless beauties. Their faces were brilliant and they reflected each other's splendor as though goddesses from the higher realm had descended to earth. "Brother-in-law, what are you thinking about? Why are you in a daze?" urged the silver-haired little Lolita. Ying Wudi also came. He really couldn't bear it anymore and secretly threatened Chu Feng. He secretly transmitted his voice, "Wu Luanhui, I don't like the sight of you. It's best if you don't enter my Ying family's door." Chu Feng didn't pay attention to him. He stroked the silver-haired little Lolita's head and looked at the two women. The old man from the corpse race also sneered as he spoke at this moment. He wanted to see one of the two clans turn ugly. He even hoped that they would turn against each other. He fanned the flames and said, "Little friend, which one will you choose?" At this moment, whether it was inside or outside the divine hall, or the people watching the live broadcast, everyone quieted down. They stared at Wu Luanhui and wanted to see his final decision. Of course, many people were indignant in their hearts. These were two goddesses, but in the end, the two clans actually wanted to kidnap the bride. What kind of world was this? Chu Feng sighed softly. He didn't speak at first. He looked left and right before he finally said, "Must I choose?" Of course. Some old monsters urged one after another. Not to mention them and the people watching the live broadcast, even Ing Zhixian and Qin Luoyin themselves were staring at Chu Feng at this moment. They didn't care about anything else. They just wanted to see his true reaction and choice. After all, one of them was known as the banished fairy while the other was viewed as a goddess by the youths of various clans. They were both proud and arrogant. They were very confident in themselves, and this was the first time they were being chosen. There was no doubt that the two of them had already forgotten their experiences in the foreign realm. They couldn't talk about feelings at this moment. Now, they were more focused on Chu Feng's attitude. When the two women looked at each other, it was no different from a battle to the two of them. It was a matter of charm and influence. "Little friend, how will you choose?" Some old monsters laughed maliciously. "Brother-in-law." The silver-haired little Lolita shook Chu Feng's arm. Ouyang Feng shouted, "You've chosen the elder sister, and there's also a silver-haired Lolita. How obvious is this? You guys should also add another person to the damning Pure Land." He was simply anxious to see the world in chaos. A group of people from the quasi-immortal race glared at him angrily. Ingwudi even wanted to go over and fight him with his life on the line. He had an elder sister and he even wanted to gift a younger sister? He really wanted to beat that black swan to death. Alright then. Chu Feng raised his head and looked at Ing Zhixian from the quasi-immortal race before looking at Qin Luoyin from the damning Pure Land. In the end, he sighed and said, "I hope that the races can live in harmony. Too many painful things have already happened today." When he said this, he looked at the old monsters from the corpse race with an incomparably sympathetic expression. He then looked at the Tao race, the golden heavenly spider race, and the white phoenix race with a comforting expression. This was simply provoking a group of old monsters who harbored malicious intentions just a moment ago and tearing at their scars again. "So, it's better if I don't choose. If I choose one, I'll hurt another. The two races won't get along and I don't want this to happen," said Chu Feng with a serious expression. The commentator from the Black Blood platform reacted quickly. He immediately slapped the table and stood up as he said loudly, "How righteous! As expected of the Luanhui king. He can still consider things like this when facing two absolute beauties. He's supremely righteous. I don't want the two races to get along." Some people were indeed astonished in various parts of the universe. Many youngsters immediately revealed smiles and praised Wu Luanhui. In a split second, no one scolded him anymore and everyone said he was good. This isn't good, right? The two races are already like this. If you reject them all, how will the two fairies face the people of the world in the future? Some old monsters were overbearing as they mentioned it once again, and said that Chu Feng should make a choice. After that, there were even people who looked at the quasi-immortal race and the damning Pure Land. They said that since they both wanted to choose Wu Luanhui, then they should let him express his opinion. In reality, the two races were a little regretful. Now that they were forced into a corner, they were too decisive earlier and simply didn't have a way out. In the end, they all looked at Chu Feng and their intentions were very obvious. Since that's the case, Wu Luanhui opened his mouth and sighed softly. He looked like he didn't want things to get out of control and hoped for harmony. He was awe-inspiring as he said, "Then I'll choose both." F***ck. Ouyang Feng's jaw almost dropped to the ground. He really wanted to say that this was very Chu Feng. After holding it in for so long, it turned out that he was pretending that he had no other choice and was brewing a big move. Chapter 856. The group of people near the shrine was quite shocked. Wu Luanhui's big eyes looked pure and immature, but in the end he actually dared to say such things? Wasn't he too daring? Throughout the ages, there had never been a precedent of someone daring to marry the goddesses of both the damning Pure Land and the quasi-immortal race. Now Wu Luanhui was demanding an exorbitant price and actually dared to say such things. Many people thought that he was considering the harmony between the two races. Either he didn't marry or he married both of them so that one side wouldn't be embarrassed. But many people were still silently cursing Wu Luanhui for courting death. The reactions of the people watching the live broadcast from all over the universe were even more intense, especially the group of young people. They had already forgiven Chu Feng earlier and praised him greatly, but now they were unanimously hostile. Inside the shrine in the damning Pure Land, Ying Zhixian and Qin Luoyin didn't look too good. They had the beauty to topple cities, so their appearances were naturally impeccable. But now their faces were slightly dark. Is it contagious to have a dark face? Yuan from the Origin Demon race muttered softly. She glanced at Ying Wudi and then at Ying Zhixian and Qin Luoyin, secretly amazed. In reality, Ying Zhixian and Qin Luoyin still hadn't expressed their stance. Ying Wudi, who was at the side, couldn't bear it anymore and really wanted to attack Chu Feng. With a bang, he was caught by an elder from the quasi-immortal race who told him to be quiet and not be impulsive. Little friend, you must be joking. How can the daughter of the quasi-immortal race marry the same person as her bosom friend? The quasi-immortal race elder said indifferently, but he was a little angry. The people from the damning Pure Land didn't look too good either. Wu Luanhui's words were too excessive, and they couldn't accept it. Throughout the ages, as long as someone married a quasi-immortal race princess or a damning Pure Land saintess, they would only have one Dao companion in their lifetime. It was impossible and not allowed to mess around. Brother-in-law, you can't abandon her after you've started, the silver-haired Lolita shouted and was still tugging on Chu Feng's arm. Xiao, come over here. Ying Wudi reprimanded her. After that, everyone saw Ying Zhixian and Qin Luoyin step forward. They looked at Chu Feng together with dissatisfaction on their slightly dark faces. Sigh, when I saw the two of you, I suddenly recalled the days and nights, some of the things that happened in the other side. Chu Feng sighed. Then, he very naturally walked over and stood between the two of them. He stretched out his hand to touch the center of their brows, wanting to directly give them enlightenment and transfer part of their memories. And what do you want to do? The dark-faced Ying Wudi rushed over and directly stopped him. However, a blazing beam of light soared outside of Chu Feng's body. It was extremely resplendent and formed a light screen. All of a sudden, it struck Ying Wudi and made him fall back. This made many people fearful. This Wu Luanhui wasn't old, but his strength was truly unfathomable. Ying Wudi had come out of seclusion for a period of time, and everyone knew how formidable he was. He was at the perfected golden body realm. But he wasn't a match for Wu Luanhui here. The other party didn't even make a move and he was already stopped. Little friend, what are you trying to do? The old monsters from the quasi-immortal race and damning Pure Land were shocked. A person's forehead was very fragile, and it was easy to penetrate one's divine soul. At this moment, Ying Zhixian and Qin Luoyin were both resisting. They had the demeanor of goddesses, so they naturally wouldn't let anyone touch their foreheads so easily. This was too intimate. Believe me, I won't harm you, Chu Feng said calmly. His eyes conveyed sincere affection. He indeed wanted the two of them to recover their memories. Otherwise, today's matter would definitely be messed up, and it wouldn't end well in the end. If the two of them recovered, he would let them choose everything. Bang bang. The two of them still exchanged blows with him for a short while. However, Chu Feng was really very terrifying now. After his soul light and physical body combined, his strength was tyrannical. Divine chains of order appeared outside his body to obstruct the two women. The strength of the two of them could be ranked in the top few in this generation of the universe, but in the end, they were calmly neutralized by Chu Feng. Chi. He pointed with his hand, and a beam of divine light submerged into the space between Ing Zhixian's eyebrows. After that, he nimbly retreated. Wu Luanhui, what did you do to my sister? Ing Wudi was furious. He was extremely worried as he rushed over again. After that, Chu Feng turned around like a golden rock spreading its wings. His entire body was covered in glaring light as he spun around and pounced toward Ing Wudi. No! The quasi-immortal race cried out in alarm. They thought that Chu Feng was going to attack Ing Wudi and wanted to stop him, but they discovered that they couldn't be faster than Wu Luanhui. They simply couldn't block him. Ing Wudi was suppressed by Chu Feng. Moreover, a beam of divine light submerged into the space between his eyebrows, which immediately made Ing Wudi cry out. After that, he was completely absent-minded, and his face was as black as the bottom of a pot. That was because the memories Chu Feng gave him were very simple. They were all scenes of him calling Chu Feng's brother-in-law, and Ing Xiaoxiao affectionately calling Chu Feng brother-in-law. This was simply too stimulating, and it made Ing Wudi want to vomit blood. After that, he really vomited. How could you be my brother-in-law? He shouted. In the surroundings, a group of people looked at him strangely. Of course, there were also a lot of people who suffered a blow. Could it be that in another world, Chu Feng and Ing Zhixian were really Dao companions? Chu Feng was rather decisive. He charged over and broke through Qin Luoyin's defense. He pointed a finger at her, and it was still considered as imparting some relevant memories to her. Of course, the time was short and didn't allow him to completely awaken all of these people's memories. He could only transmit some fragments of the past. Ing Zhixian and Qin Luoyin were slightly spellbound by the impact. For a moment they stood on the spot in a daze. I don't believe it. Even the aloof Ing Zhixian's face turned slightly pale at this moment. Her soul light was trembling, and her heart wasn't calm. Even though she had a favorable impression of Wu Luanhui ever since she saw him, she still felt astonished now that she obtained a portion of his memories. Her soul was trembling slightly. Chu Feng went forward and said in a low voice, I can use the wonderful seven treasures technique with you. As he spoke, he grabbed Qin Luoyin's snow-white, delicate hand. After that, the soul light between their arms fused together, making Ing Zhixian immediately realize that they could really use the wonderful seven treasures technique. But outsiders couldn't see it. They only discovered that they were holding hands and were immediately dumbfounded. Miserable wails and howls came from the people watching the live broadcast. Many young men cursed Wu Luanhui, and there were also many young outstanding talents from damning Pure Land who had their hearts broken. Whoosh! The two of them separated and were both spellbound. What's going on? The quasi-immortal race's elder was shocked. Could it be that Wu Luanhui had really returned with a portion of his memories? This was really too astonishing. The few old women from damning Pure Land were also rather shocked. Throughout the generations, only an extremely small number of people could return with a portion of their memories. It seemed that this Wu Luanhui was very astonishing. At this moment, Qin Luoyin's face was pale. The impact she received was naturally extremely great. A portion of her memories had been activated, and the expression in her eyes as she looked at Chu Feng was incomparably complicated. It's fake, she muttered to herself softly. It's all real. Chu Feng fixed his gaze on her. Mother, everything is real. I'll enlighten you with the wisdom and thoroughly tell you all the truth, said the little Taoist. He was sometimes very similar to Chu Feng in that he didn't hesitate when he should be decisive. He took advantage of this opportunity to transmit a large portion of his memories over. Naturally, this consumed a lot of his energy. After all, he hadn't been born yet. This was also the reason why he didn't act blindly without thinking before and only narrated the truth verbally. For a moment everyone felt astonished. They kept feeling that Wu Luanhui had used demonic arts and seriously affected Ing Zhixian and Qin Luoyin. Some of the old monsters in the shrine had chilly gazes as they stared at Chu Feng. The old monster from the corpse race opened his mouth and said, "Little friend, you've returned with a portion of your memories. Can you let me take a look?" "I can't let you see. Everyone has their own secrets, but I can show you a portion of the scenes that I know," replied Chu Feng calmly. "Little friend, this matter is of great importance. I want to know how an accident happened to the proud son of heaven from my race. You must let us see." The elder from the White Phoenix race was overbearing. "I respect all of you seniors, but I, Wu Luanhui, am not someone who is afraid of trouble," Chu Feng replied coldly. "Fellow Taoists, I think it's necessary to take him down and get to the bottom of this." Even the elder from the Tao race spoke solemnly. One had to know that these were several powerful races. There were 20 to 30 old monsters standing guard here. If they really made a move, they believed that Wu Luanhui would be taken down, no matter how much of a genius he was. They were all people at the great perfection of the Golden Body Realm and came from the strongest races in the universe, such as the Tao race, the Buddhist race, the Corpse race, the White Phoenix race, the Golden Heavenly Spider, and the Deity race. Ouyang Feng rushed into the shrine and shouted, "You're going too far. You should withdraw." I think these seniors are also confused because they're concerned. They're just anxious for a moment. "I'll deal with them," said Chu Feng calmly. He wasn't flustered in the face of danger and was calm and composed. This made the quasi-saint race and damning Pure Land's old monsters outside of the arena view him even more highly. In reality, Chu Feng was currently using Wu Luanhui's identity, so it wasn't appropriate for him to make a big fuss to avoid implicating related people. If it was Chu Feng's identity, he would have slapped some people to death a long time ago. "Hee Wu Luanhui, you're rather confident. Are you implying that you want to fight against us old men alone?" said the elder of the superfluous combat physique. "I just want to talk to you guys." Chu Feng shook his head. "Less nonsense. Come over. You must let us see your memories." The old monster from the corpse race was the first to make a move. He wasn't afraid at all because the people from the Buddhist race and the Tao race were all here. They would definitely follow and attack together. "Then let me experience the ultimate arts of all of you seniors," said Chu Feng calmly. Bang! A great battle erupted in the shrine. In a split second, the Golden Heavenly Spider spat out silk, the White Phoenix spread its wings, the old ghost from the corpse race breathed in and out a monstrous black mist, and the perfected golden body cultivator from the Buddhist race chanted sutras and blasted out resplendent seals. For a moment, the energy in this place surged as if a pot was boiling. It was extremely terrifying. These people all had the possibility of breaking through to the quasi-saint realm. When the strong joined forces, it was naturally astonishing. If it was in the past, the powerhouses of the younger generation wouldn't be able to defeat one of them even if they joined forces. But now, Chu Feng wasn't the same as before. His strength had increased explosively and he became the strongest voice of this generation. Bang! He activated his lightning fist and his entire body shone as he used the Phoenix breathing technique. This was the Yang Realm Divine Technique, and the incomplete breathing technique of the Divine Bird that young lady she had taught him. It was world-shaking as energy swept through this place. Indistinctly, divine chains of order interweaved as they rushed out from Chu Feng's body and swept in all directions. This shrine stood out from the masses as it was extremely sturdy. If not, it wouldn't have been able to withstand the power of the spatial whirlpool. Bang, bang, bang. In the end, the group of old men flew out horizontally as they were beaten by Chu Feng alone until all of them spat out blood. They crashed into the walls of the shrine and all of them fell to the ground. Chu Feng, on the other hand, had the aptitude of a youth. His entire body was dazzling as he stood alone in the field. He was very calm and didn't appear to be in a sorry state. Seniors, I've offended you, he said calmly. If they were in the universe, these people would have already been hunted and sold by him. But it was different now as he was broadcasting live. After saying these words, Chu Feng walked straight out of the shrine and left after he greeted the people from the damning Pure Land and the quasi-saint race. Wu Luanhui left right away and left the damning Pure Land. Everyone was stunned. He left just like that? This fellow ran too fast and forgot to bring me along. Damn it, I still have to run away by myself. It wasn't suitable for the two of them to leave at the same time. In any case, I've already awakened part of their memories. I should leave, said Chu Feng softly. The domains of the damning Pure Land naturally couldn't stop him. In reality, no one activated the domains and let him leave. Chu Feng knew that the quasi-saint race and the damning Pure Land were too powerful. It was impossible for them to allow the so-called two women to marry the same man. He also didn't want them to be in a difficult situation, so he left by himself. Everything's outcome could be predicted. After that, Chu Feng didn't stop. Now that he was a domain grandmaster, no one could follow him as he walked through the mountains and rivers. Then, he entered a domain that could cross galaxies and left this planet. First, he found the stone box and diamond chakram in a certain starry sea. Then, he changed his identity and location several times. He crossed many teleportation domains and headed toward Earth. It didn't take long. In just a few days, Chu Feng rushed back to Earth and restored his true body. He returned to his home once again and completely relaxed. He immediately contacted the big black yak, the yellow cattle, the old donkey, and the others to ask where he was. Let's go to Kunlun. We'll gather there. Princess Yao Yao will be there too, the big black yak told him. After that, Chu Feng rushed to Kunlun. He immediately felt very close to this group of great demons. Of course, he thought that this group of people had forgotten about the matter of the foreign realm. In reality, after these people pieced together their memories, they weren't much worse than him. Kunlun was verdant with dense spiritual energy. The silver waterfall was like a dragon. It was extremely magnificent. Not only did Yao Yao come out of seclusion, but Lady Shi also ran over. Not bad. You're really not simple. In damning Pure Land, you actually hooked up with one and wanted to marry two fair, rich, and beautiful women. How fickle! Lady Shi mocked him. Chu Feng patted his chest and said, Am I that kind of person? Obviously not. Oh right, Lady Shi, have you forgotten about your experience in the foreign realm? Actually, many things happened between us there. There were all kinds of entanglement. You might not remember, but you were very affectionate toward me at that time. Chu Feng's shameless boasting stunned Lady Shi. The group of great demons of Kunlun was also at a loss for words. They realized that this guy really thought they didn't know what happened in the foreign realm and was just talking nonsense. Then, Yao Yao came out of seclusion and walked over nimbly. She was truly peerless in style and was becoming more and more unfathomable like an empress. Ha, not bad. You remember everything? Yao Yao had a smile on her face. Yao Yao, I'm really happy to be able to see you again. Did you know that the two of us went through life and death together in the foreign realm? We flew together and fought against the gods. Chu Feng opened his mouth and incessantly stirred up her emotions. His face was full of affection and he looked very excited. The big black yak was dumbstruck. He realized that this guy was out of luck. He actually dared to take the opportunity to flirt with Yao Yao. Did he really think Yao Yao didn't know about the foreign realm? Yellow Cattle covered one of his eyes with his hand and observed a moment of silence for Chu Feng. He also felt embarrassed for him. He was too shameless to actually flirt with Yao Yao here. Chapter 857. Yao Yao, I'm so grateful to have you in my life. The things we went through together in the foreign land are still vivid in my mind. They make my heart tremble and I can't forget them. We've spent 100 years together. I remember them all. I haven't forgotten you. Chu Feng was stirring up emotions here with an impassioned and affectionate look. However, whether it was the black yak, the Manchurian tiger, or the thick-skinned old donkey, they all felt goosebumps. They couldn't take it anymore. They felt incomparable sympathy for Chu Feng. This time, he was too showy and had completely exposed himself. He was going to be out of luck, and this made them feel embarrassed for him. Zhou Quan couldn't take it anymore and wanted to remind Chu Feng. He had combed his hair back and had 4 horns on his head. He opened his mouth to call out to Chu Feng. However, the black yak decisively pulled him back and secretly transmitted his voice. "Young man, you're too inexperienced. What are you going to do? This is such a rare opportunity. Let Demon Chu let himself go and listen to his heart. Let Princess Yao Yao see how good it is." Zhou Quan was speechless. This black yak was too unkind. He wanted Chu Feng to let himself go? He reckoned that he would really be blasted away in a while. That kind of scene could be imagined. Yellow Cow covered one eye with his hand while the other was peeping. He also transmitted his voice to Zhou Quan, saying, "He won't die if he doesn't court death. Let him be showy. Don't worry about him. Let him continue to let himself go and flirt with Yao Yao." In a short moment, the group of great demons of Kunlun came to a consensus. They wanted to see Chu Feng court death and show off so he could flirt with Yao Yao. Wow, I'm so touched. I'm about to cry. Lady, she was very naughty. Her big eyes turned into crescent moons as she listened attentively. She said, "Chu Feng, what exactly did you and Yao Yao go through to make you so unforgettable? Tell me in detail." "We experienced too many things, the things that moved heaven and earth, engraved in our bones and hearts. Even after returning from the other side, it was still difficult for me to forget. There are some things that will forever be engraved in my soul imprint, something I will never forget." Chu Feng had an expression of being moved by himself as he looked at Yao Yao with deep feelings. That expression and that posture made it seem as though there were genuine and pure feelings flowing between the two of them. "Brother, you're so pitiful." The Manchurian tiger grinned as he spoke. This was the truth. From their point of view, Chu Feng was putting on a good show now, but he would definitely be beaten half to death in a while. "Yes, how pitiful. Brother, I'm so sad for you. I feel so sorry for you." Sigh. The black yak pretended to pat Chu Feng's shoulder and sighed emotionally. Chu Feng didn't know what was going on at all. He was just a little suspicious. He was stirring up Yao Yao's emotions. What the hell were these uncouth fellows feeling moved and sentimental about? "You guys are really emotional and a little weak. This is my experience of going through trials and tribulations with Yao Yao. I'm moved and there's true feelings, but why are you guys wiping your tears for no reason? This old donkey is talking about you. What's wrong with you?" Chu Feng stared at the old donkey. The old donkey had no tears, so he wiped them dry and sighed. "Brother, you know that this old donkey has always been sympathetic. Seeing you like this and hearing you talk so miserably, I really have goosebumps all over my body. My heart is filled with sorrow. Sigh, I want to cry for you." Crazy. Chu Feng's face was gloomy and stupefied. He had moved a donkey to the point of wanting to cry. What was this? He looked at Yao Yao affectionately and recklessly continued to tease her. He talked about the specific details of their life and death experiences in the other world. For example, Yao Yao was like a fairy flying from the heavens to save Chu Feng. He also talked about how Chu Feng disregarded his own safety and helped Yao Yao block a spear from the martial god's eldest son. His soul almost flew away and flew away. The two of them depended on each other and supported each other along the way. This show-off is hopeless. Yellow Cattle completely covered his eyes. He couldn't bear to look at him. Big Blackie trembled and said, "This is the first time I know that our brother, the great Demon Chu, is so melodramatic. This is practically teasing even in death." Even a serious person like the Mastiff King nodded. He had seen people with thick skin, but he had never seen someone as immoral and as bottomless as Chu Feng. The Horse King rubbed his shiny bald head and sighed. Our brother is courting death. Once he goes there, he won't turn back. He'll leave everyone in the dust, reach the top, and look down on everyone. He's so thick-skinned that he's unrivaled under the heavens. Little did he know that he's fallen this time. I reckon this setback is enough for him to reflect on for several years. Finally, Yao Yao opened her mouth. Her long skirt fluttered in the wind and she was peerlessly beautiful. Now, her transcendent temperament was fully revealed. Her unrivaled attitude of beating everyone in the ancient universe's golden generation was fully displayed. Back then, she was the #1 beauty under the starry skies. Moreover, she was invincible. Are you talking about my experience with you? Yao Yao asked calmly as she stared at this guy who was courting death. Yao Yao, have you forgotten? You were struck by the martial god's eldest son's palm. I used a grandmaster-level domain divine technique to fly into the sky and earth while carrying you. I changed the direction of the mountains and rivers and flew with you in my arms for 9 days and 9 nights. Young lady, she felt her teeth ache. She really couldn't stand him. Yao Yao, on the other hand, was very calm. She said, but weren't you hooking up with 1 or 2 people in damning Pure Land not long ago and wanted to marry 2 great saintesses? Why are you stirring up emotions in the blink of an eye? Are you courting death? Or are you courting death? Yao Yao, you've changed your mind. Have you forgotten that I'm passionately devoted to you? We have such a common experience. Why would I flirt with other women? I was just perfunctory in damning Pure Land. I joked that I wanted to marry 2 saintesses, but they definitely wouldn't agree. That's why I seized the opportunity to leave. Everything is for you. I want to rush to your side as soon as possible, Chu Feng said righteously. He's too pretentious. Even I can't stand it. I really want to slap him to death on behalf of Princess Yao Yao. Even old Donkey was muttering like this, let alone the others. Yao Yao looked at Chu Feng and said, Are you sure your memory isn't wrong? Do you remember what happened between us? Of course. In that world, we relied on each other and advanced together. Our friendship was sincere. I'm really heartbroken. The spatial vortex is too merciless. Cut off your memory. Chu Feng continued to court death. However, Yao Yao couldn't stand it anymore. She didn't want to see him continue. She waved her palm and struck him with lightning. Yao Yao, how can you do this to me? Chu Feng's 7 orifices were spewing arcs of electricity. Bang! Yao Yao flipped her palm and a human-shaped pit immediately appeared where she was. Chu Feng's figure disappeared as he was struck into the depths of the ground. At the same time, a bolt of lightning followed him in. Brother, don't be pretentious. We all came back with our memories. We clearly remember everything that happened in the foreign land. Only at this moment did Big Black Yak kindly remind him. Then, Chu Feng stomped his feet in anger. He was seething with anger. This was too King embarrassing. He was really carrying on the fearless spirit of courting death by tormenting himself here. After rushing out of the ground, Chu Feng didn't wait for Yao Yao to take care of him. Instead, he knocked his head against the mountain wall and shouted, Don't stop me! I don't want to live anymore. It was rare to see someone as thick-skinned as him go crazy. He really felt like he was about to collapse. Then, he knocked the mountain wall down with a few clangs. Brother, don't knock anymore. Your skin is too thick. You've knocked the mountain down. Look at the dust and smoke. You've destroyed the beautiful mountains and rivers for no reason. Chu Feng clenched his teeth and said, You're a group of bad friends. Big Black Yak, Yellow Cattle, Old Donkey, Yellow Cattle, Siberian Tiger, Baldy Ma. I want to fight a decisive battle to the death with all of you. Come at me together. If you want to fight a decisive battle, come at me. Yao Yao's figure was tall and graceful with undulating curves. She possessed a pair of long legs with golden proportions. She soared through the air with a slender waist and a broad chest. She had a swan-like snow-white neck and a flawless face. She gazed fixedly at Chu Feng. Then, her snow-white, lustrous arms spread out and directly slapped Chu Feng into the ground. Once again, it was accompanied by lightning. Yao Yao, there's a misunderstanding here. Chu Feng himself felt guilty. What was there to explain? He'd completely fallen for it this time. I remember. This isn't the first time. Chu Feng's guts are quite big. He didn't die from provoking Yao Yao's heart from beginning to end. He specifically chose this kind of hellish challenge of ultimate difficulty. I admire him. The Manchurian tiger shook his head. With the heaviest grief, we deeply mourn Chu Feng's fearless spirit of courting death. He still wants to provoke us even after death. Next year, we'll come here to burn joss paper and visit his grave. On this day, Chu Feng's heart was gloomy. For a time, he doubted his life. He was too unlucky and had to bear the consequences of courting death himself. He couldn't even have peace in closed-door reflection. Young lady, she sat outside his door and imitated him in courting death. The only thing that comforted Chu Feng was that night. He received a message from Qin Luoyin on his photon computer. It made him sit up with a start. Qin Luoyin clearly stated that she had already recovered her memories. If she had to choose, she hoped that one day, Chu Feng could appear in damning Pure Land. As for Wu Luanhui, he could go to hell and throw him to Yingzhixian. Hey, what does this mean? Chu Feng pondered. There was a particular reason behind this. Wasn't he Wu Luanhui? Of course, that was just a virtual body. This was asking Chu Feng's real body to go to damning Pure Land one day. Then, he would abandon his virtual body and throw it to Yingzhixian. Was this hinting to Yingzhixian that it was a dream, or something else? The next day, an important piece of news was released by the Black Blood platform. The quasi-immortal race made an important decision to choose Wu Luanhui as Yingzhixian's Dao companion. On that day, Qin Luoyin didn't care about the Elder's threats and warnings in damning Pure Land. She also announced an important matter to the outside world. She would marry whoever could defeat Chu Feng in this generation of the universe. If no one could defeat Chu Feng, she was willing to marry the demon Chu Feng. Is she crazy? What's going on? Is Goddess Qin Luoyin saying this out of anger? Does she want to feed the demon with her body? A group of people were shocked. There was an intense reaction from all over the universe. This was even more shocking than the quasi-immortal race announcing that they were choosing Wu Luanhui as their Dao companion. It shook the younger generation. The quasi-immortal race choosing Wu Luanhui was within everyone's expectations. After all, that silver-haired little Lolita even called him brother-in-law. Moreover, she said in public that Wu Luanhui and Yingzhixian had already become Dao companions in the foreign realm. She didn't leave a way out for herself at all. If they didn't become Dao companions, they would definitely become enemies and wouldn't stop until one of them died. But what kind of play was Qin Luoyin playing? Even those from damning Pure Land were stupefied. A few old women hurriedly looked for her, but it was already too late. The news had already been released. Everyone, don't worry. What cultivation does Chu Feng have now? At most, he's a cultivator at the transformation realm. Now, this group of people who have returned from the foreign realm are all at the golden body realm. There are even those at the great circle of the golden body realm. There are even some who are about to break through to the quasi-saint realm. What's there to be afraid of? Demon Chu Feng is just a piece of cake now. We can kill him with a single punch. After that, a group of people became excited. They clamored about going to Earth and hunting Demon Chu Feng. This was simply a generous gift bestowed by the heavens. It was too easy. I know. Goddess Qin Luoyin is giving everyone a chance. Killing Chu Feng is as easy as turning over her hand now. Cultivators of our generation can kill him too, haha. The younger generation was boiling with excitement. They felt that this was a pie falling from the sky. They wanted nothing more than to rush to Earth immediately to hunt down Chu Feng and snatch him away. In the depths of the starry skies, Ouyang Feng was hurrying on his way dejectedly. Chu Feng had left him behind, so he could only painstakingly look for a transmission domain on his own while cursing continuously. After that, he also received the news. Immediately, he stared blankly and said, "The Tao is heartless, but there's still affection. Is this giving Chu Feng a great opportunity? Marrying different people with different identities. Oh my, this show-off courting death. Is this fortune or misfortune? I'll have to prepare 2 different faces when I go out in the future. Should I go to Damring Pure Land to get married first or to the quasi-saint race? I'm not going back to Earth. I'll wait for this show-off here. Everyone, the sea of stars is our journey and Earth is our shore. Don't fight over it. First come, first serve." Many people were shouting in the starry skies. They had entered the foreign realm before and now, their strength had increased explosively. Now they were 100 times more confident. At the same time, in the vast Yang realm, the true human world, Yang Qi was surging. Someone was trying to open up the primal chaos and break through a temporary wormhole to enter the Yin realm. Reporting to the Lord, we've tried many times and discovered a broken ancient road. There might be a certain chance of success to enter the Yin realm. In an ancient palace, a group of experts knelt down and kowtowed to a statue that looked like a wooden statue. The statue was covered in dust, and there was a thick layer of dirt on his body that was more than half a foot thick. At this moment, the statue opened its mouth. Its body moved slightly and the dust fell in a rustle. The hearts of the people below palpitated. This ancient powerhouse hadn't opened his mouth or moved for at least tens of thousands of years. His flesh was withered and his consciousness was extinguished. Now that he had awakened, he was indeed still alive. Oh, I threw a few small fish into the Yin realm back then. Some of them were planted with mother gold, and some were cursed. They're all experimental product. If we can go over, find an opportunity to take them back. Additionally, those seeds in the Yin realm aren't bad. Pluck a batch of them, regardless of race. I want to see how much they can grow after returning to the Yang realm. This powerhouse's words shook everyone's hearts. We obey the Tao Master's decree. Reporting to the Tao Master, the disciples of other powerhouses are also on the move recently. It's suspected that they also want to enter the Yin realm. One of the experts kneeling below reported. Oh, it's within expectations. Some things lost in the Yin realm from the Yang realm have always been being searched. They're unwilling to give up. Pay attention to their movements. The Yang realm was vast and boundless, but it wasn't peaceful now. Some ancient powerhouses were reviving. Some of their arrangements in the early years involved the Yin realm in the future. Now, some people were beginning to move. Chapter 858. In the starry sky there were great waves everywhere. Outsiders were powerless to stop Ing Zhixian from the quasi-saint race from marrying Wu Luanhui, and they didn't dare to touch bad luck either. However, when the gods closed a window, they would definitely open a door for you. This was the opinion of many people, and also the consolation they obtained. That was because Qin Luoyin was still choosing a Tao companion, and the conditions weren't harsh at all. As long as we defeat Chu Feng, it will be too easy. Ha ha! Someone laughed. If it was before, he would have been considered crazy if he dared to say such things. How could he dare to compete with Demon King Chu? How many people dared to be so ostentatious? But it was completely different now. After the Damring Pure Land's distinguished meeting had ended, a large batch of youngsters had matured. Hundreds of people's strength had increased explosively, and all of them were close to the Golden Body realm or had directly become Golden Body experts. Some of the people at the very top had even perfected the Golden Body realm and had the possibility of charging into the quasi-saint domain. They couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. The group of universe-level geniuses were like nirvanic rebirth. In just a year's time, they were completely reborn. Their strength advanced by leaps and bounds, and their confidence multiplied. In the past, not to mention them, even superfluous combat physique, Ing Wudi, and Taoist Jin Lin weren't necessarily Demon King Chu's mat. But it was completely different now. Many people were very arrogant and had the confidence to kill Chu Feng. Now, they believed that they could look down on Chu Feng in terms of their realm. How could those who had achieved the golden body completion not be able to defeat a person in the initial stage of transformation? Then, some people realized that there was a loophole in this rule. Was the first person to successfully hunt down Chu Feng the winner, or the last one? Afterward, Qin Luoyin gave them a time limit. Whoever could defeat Chu Feng and the others within a month would be considered the champion and the final victor. Hee-haw, how are you, fairies of the damning Pure Land? I'm Lu Feiyang from an aristocratic family of scholars in the Jiangnan River town of Earth. Just like everyone from the damning Pure Land, my family has a long history of learning. I have something to ask you. If Chu Feng sweeps away all his opponents in the end and no one can keep him in check, will Goddess Qin Luoyin really marry him? On Earth, Old Donkey opened his mouth and used his account on the Origin Beast platform to interrogate the damning Pure Land, forcing Qin Luoyin to abdicate. TSK, Demon King Chu can't hold on any longer. There's no need to say so much. Saying too much and having unrealistic fantasies will only end up as a joke. A donkey dares to boast shamelessly? Are you joking? You're just asking to be humiliated. I reckon that Chu Feng will be captured and killed very soon. Even if you say so much, it won't change anything. In the starry skies, some people reacted. Some were indifferent, some were contemptuous, and some were extremely unkind. Times had changed. At this point, a considerable number of people were no longer afraid of Chu Feng. They were no longer afraid of this so-called Demon King Chu. On that very day, many people set out and rushed towards Earth. They saw him as their prey, and a great competition that was almost like a competition began. A group of people competed and fought to invite the Wormhole Express Company to open the super wormhole. They couldn't wait to enter the solar system, lest they fall behind. In many people's eyes, Chu Feng was already a piece of meat on the chopping board. Among them, there was no lack of people who had been defeated and captured by Chu Feng back then. Now that they felt that the opportunity for revenge had arrived, they had to suppress Demon King Chu. Ouyang Feng sneered in the starry skies. He felt that these people were purely courting death. Would they dare to find trouble with Demon King Chu? He reckoned that they would be tortured to the point of doubting life in the end. Even this king doesn't dare to provoke that fellow. You people won't die if you don't court death. At this moment, Chu Feng didn't care about the clamor of these people at all. In his eyes, these people were local specialties, prey, and a sumptuous feast. He had now run to Mount Eternal in the Eastern Sea and was communicating with the demonic ancestral cauldron. He wanted to enter the land of the fallen once again to find the little vermilion bird and bring it to the netherworld. However, the demonic ancestral cauldron refused and wasn't willing to help him with this matter. Why? Chu Feng didn't understand and asked it. The demonic ancestral cauldron replied, "Even if there's an ancient path from back then that connects the two worlds, the consumption is too great. I can't do anything in the short term." It was calm because its own energy had dried up and it couldn't do it. This made Chu Feng anxious. It didn't matter if it dragged on for a few days, but something big would happen if it dragged on. Judging from the current situation, it wasn't 100 years in one night. It was more or less a year in the netherworld universe and 100 years in the land of the fallen. If it dragged on for a few more days, a few years would pass in the land of the fallen. Is there any way? Chu Feng was very anxious. Unless I absorb enough pure energy in one go, I'll have to wait for a year and a half, replied the demonic ancestral cauldron. Chu Feng's face immediately turned green. A year and a half meant that 50 to 100 years had passed in the land of the fallen. This was too outrageous. The little vermilion bird would become the big vermilion bird and the old vermilion bird. I have to think of a way. He pondered in his heart and calmed himself down. There was no use in being anxious. It was better to be a bit more tranquil. After that, he returned to Mount Kunlun and found an opportunity to exchange pointers with a group of great demons from Mount Kunlun. Moo! Demon Chu Feng, you're taking revenge. You're clearly abusing your position to avenge a private grudge. The big black yak howled and his roar shook the heavens. Roar! The Manchurian tiger was also very miserable. He roared repeatedly as he resisted Chu Feng's lightning fist. Hee-haw, Grandpa Donkey is in so much pain. I'm from an aristocratic family of scholars. What I'm least good at is fighting and killing. Brother, stop. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have watched you walk so far on the road to death. But you haven't given up on flirting with Yao Yao. We can stop you once, but we can't stop you twice, thrice, or even 4 times. Without a doubt, Chu Feng began to exchange pointers with the great demons of Kunlun after he was free. He taught them the consequences of not being loyal. Not long ago, they actually watched him jump into a pit of fire. This group of scoundrels were too evil. As a result, the group of great demons of Kunlun was out of luck. They wailed like ghosts and howled like wolves. Chu Feng glorified it by saying that they would endure hardships and endure hardships together. He was struck by 5 bolts of lightning, so these people should also have a taste of the lightning tribulation. 2 days later, Chu Feng logged into his golden account on the Origin Beast platform. Being invincible is so lonesome. He discovered that many people were provoking him, and he was annoyed beyond endurance. Moreover, many people were challenging him. They were very high profile and didn't treat him as a dish at all. Among them were people who had been defeated by him in the past. Now, they were trembling and speaking disrespectfully to him. How laughable. Demon Chu has actually been using the account being invincible is so lonesome all this time. How arrogant is he? Isn't he afraid that the wind will cut his tongue? Haha, I want to laugh when I see the name of this golden account. Does he deserve it now? To be fair, many people can pinch him to death with just a raise of their hand. Demon Chu Feng, I want to challenge you. On the night of the full moon, on the summit of the earth, I'll tie one hand and fight you. Chu Feng looked at many messages. His face was ashen and his eyes were deep. Were these people tired of living? They dared to provoke and ridicule him like this. They were truly courting death. Finally, he saw someone leave a message with a pleading tone. Great benefactor Chu Feng, I beg you, give me a chance. Chu Feng was somewhat satisfied when he saw this, but his expression immediately turned gloomy when he saw the latter words. The latter words said, Great benefactor Chu, you must endure. Hold on and give me a chance. When I arrive at the solar system, I'll capture you and kill you in exchange for a chance to become Qin Luoyin's Tao companion. Chu Feng used his golden account to leave a message on the Origin Beast platform and said, You bunch of reckless things, get your asses over here. Also, tell your elders to prepare quasi-sage level medicinal pills for me to redeem you. Otherwise, I'll kill one if I catch one, and kill 2 if I catch 2. I'll raise my hand and descend without any nonsense. When the time comes, heads will roll and blood will flow like a river. Chu Feng, who had kept a low profile for over a year, finally spoke again. Just like back then, he immediately became the center of attention and shocked everyone. How arrogant! Do you think it's still a year ago? Everyone is growing and advancing by leaps and bounds. Only you are still making no progress. You want to compete with us? Just wait for your death. Hey Chu Feng, I think you've lost your mind. I'll take your head when we meet in 2 days. It could be said that Chu Feng's golden account had become a battlefield. Young evolvers from all sides came to leave messages. They shared a common enemy and couldn't wait to immediately start hunting him. Chu Feng wasn't vague at all. He wasn't Wu Luanhui's identity, so he didn't have any misgivings about what he said now. He was fairly happy. Come, you courting death. You don't even need to come. Your grandfather Chu will take the initiative to enter the starry sky. I'll go to damning Pure Land to marry. People from damning Pure Land appeared and mocked and ridiculed Chu Feng. He, demon Chu Feng, just give up. You're not fit to appear in front of the saintess of my damning Pure Land. I didn't give you a chance a year ago and didn't send you a golden invitation. I've already kicked you out of the most powerful young genius sequence. Now, no matter how you toss and turn, you won't be able to stir up any waves. You won't do. You've been completely reduced to a mortal and don't have the qualifications to enter my damning Pure Land. These words were rather merciless, but after Chu Feng heard them, he only sneered. This really couldn't provoke him. He replied, just you wait, I'll directly kill my way into damning Pure Land and marry your saintess. I'll also give birth to a child along the way. My son is destined to become the master of damning Pure Land in the future. All of you have to pay homage to him, and also pay homage to me along the way. You have to call me the Supreme Sect Master. Otherwise, how can I make all of you submit and revere me? This is the price of your wrong choice. When the time comes, all of you have to lie down and kowtow to me. Oh my boundless deity, my Amitabha Buddha! The group of people was infuriated, especially those from damning Pure Land. They simply couldn't bear it anymore. A few old women had gloomy expressions on their faces. Someone even said, how good would it be if we could keep Wu Luanhui here? What's the propriety of marrying someone like Demon Chu now? Even if he's not a big deal right now, it's still too vexing. I say, old friends, this demon can't have become very powerful, right? What if he fights his way here? What if all of us here are golden arhats, and we can't subdue him? Are we really going to let him become Luoyin's Dao companion? Impossible. He definitely doesn't have that kind of opportunity and fortune. A year ago, we closed that door for him and blocked the possibility of him advancing. Just wait for him to court death. But if he can really kill his way in and beat us until we don't have any temper, I'll pinch my nose and accept it. This shows that this demon is indeed terrifying and has great luck. If we lose face, then so be it. There's no harm in doing so. But he won't have that chance. After that, the cosmos clamored. A wave of rebuke resounded, and it was one-sided in refuting Chu Feng. People condemned him in speech and in writing. They said that Demon Chu was too arrogant and that he was purely courting death. At this moment, a year or two had passed in the land of the fallen. Chu Feng had left for a few days, but a year or two had passed in this world. This kind of time flow was too terrifying. Will Chu Feng still come back? A fist-sized little vermilion bird asked the yellow fox. Her entire body was fiery red, and her feathers were sparkling and translucent. At the same time, she said, I always feel that he's not serious and unreliable. The yellow fox's face was full of vicissitudes as she said, Who hasn't been young before? Take advantage of the fact that you're still young and haven't passed away. Try your best to smile more. Otherwise, once you grow up and go to a distant foreign land to fight in a foreign land and cross the cycle of reincarnation, you won't be able to smile even if you want to. Only blood and tears will be left. The little vermilion bird was unconvinced. I feel that Chu Feng is a show-off. He can't cry no matter what. The yellow fox was startled after hearing this. In the end, she nodded and said, Yes, that makes some sense. Perhaps he's a weirdo, but at least his thick skin is rarely seen in this world. Among the geniuses I've come into contact with, he's the only one who leaves everyone else in the dust. The little vermilion bird was immediately depressed and speechless after hearing this evaluation. Was she going to follow such a person in the future? The Een Realm universe was in a clamor. 2 days later, the first batch of geniuses arrived at the solar system. They approached Earth and immediately shouted out Chu Feng's name, asking him to come out and fight. And then there was no then. There were more than 20 people in this group who had arrived first, but they were all taken down by Chu Feng as if he were chopping vegetables. Their blood dyed the starry skies, and they were all captured outside Earth. Not a single one of them escaped. A year has passed, and I was wondering why you guys haven't made any progress. I remember some of you were captured alive by me back then and then sold off. Now you're here again. Are you addicted to being sold off? What a deep-rooted bad habit. This is an illness that must be treated. Chu Feng's words were like a big slap to the faces of some people. It made their faces burn and their necks turn red. This wasn't King logical. How could this demon Chu Feng be so terrifying? His growth was too rapid. He suppressed them in the past and was still suppressing them now. At the same time, there were many new faces here who were even more depressed. They had been reborn and their soul light was incomparably powerful, but in front of Chu Feng, they simply couldn't bear to look straight at it. They were beaten crazily, and all of them had swollen into pig heads. These universal geniuses had already begun to doubt their lives. It was too tragic. Their bones were broken and their tendons were torn. Most of their teeth had fallen out, and their eyes were like bloody buns. They were as miserable as they could be and as miserable as they could be. They were utterly humiliated. In the universe, everyone was so shocked that their eyeballs popped out. A year had passed, and everyone thought that the demon Chu Feng had fallen behind and couldn't keep up with the times. He had long since been left behind by the rising geniuses. In the end, the truth was so cruel. Chu Feng was still incomparably savage, and he was going to be savage to the heavens. Chu Feng opened his mouth and said, "Too weak. What kind of geniuses are these? There are some at the golden body realm, but none of them are at the perfect level. Yet they have the nerve to come to Earth. Why don't they take a look at who I am? It's clearly written on my golden account that being unrivaled is so lonely. At first, I was still thinking that perhaps I wouldn't be too lonely when you guys came, but in the end, I discovered that I'm really going to be lonely for eternity after you guys came. Oh my Amitabha Buddha! This is too shameful and infuriating. This fellow really knows how to show off. Someone go up and chop him up." Everyone in the universe couldn't stand it. A group of people were seething with killing intent. They didn't believe in evil. There were people at the perfect level of the golden body realm who set out to enter the solar system and go to Earth to harvest Chu Feng's head. "Don't bother. Your grandfather Chu has decided to take the initiative to enter the starry sky. I'm going to damning Pure Land to personally marry the mother of my child. All of you can just wait on the road. Kneel and wait quietly." Chu Feng's words immediately made the group of people turn ashen. There were even more people with violent tempers who were already unable to restrain their anger and flew into a rage. These people unanimously felt that the demon Chu Feng was too arrogant. He actually dared to take the initiative to enter the starry sky? Chu Feng indeed wasn't afraid. Even if there really was a quasi-saint who hadn't left the Een Realm universe, he still had domain methods to protect himself. Now that he was a domain grandmaster, he could enter the starry sky and there was no need for him to hide anymore. Damning Pure Land, prepare to open the mountain gates and decorate the place with lanterns and colored banners. Wait for me to come and fetch the bride. You guys can arrange things in advance. I'll be there before long. Chapter 859. My heart hurts. My liver hurts. I can't take it anymore. Who will go to Earth and destroy that demon? He's too arrogant. Look at how cocky he is. Isn't he just a demon? What's so great about capturing a group of beginner golden body cultivators? Go and cripple a person at the golden body perfected level. Make him shed tears and kneel in the starry sky to beg for forgiveness. If we don't do that, we won't be able to appease the anger of the commoners. Some of the hot-tempered people were so angry that they stomped their feet. Seeing Chu Feng provoking the people of the other races like this, they felt angry in their hearts, smoke coming out from their 7 orifices. It was mainly because, in their eyes, Chu Feng was a bully and a big bastard. Back then, he had shamelessly sold their friends and relatives as human traffickers. Now, they thought that he had fallen behind the times and finally could not keep up with the pace of the geniuses of this era. They didn't expect that he would not only follow the great leap forward but also become even more ferocious. After the initial exchange, the demon raised a banner and displayed his so-called Chu family store on the Origin Beast platform. At the same time, he wrote, "The mountain doesn't matter how high it is, the immortal is famous. The store doesn't matter how big it is, the specialty is spiritual. This is truly intolerable. Can't you see that you're going too far?" He tied those 20-plus geniuses together, just like how he tied up a bunch of old sparrows. They were a group of universe-level geniuses, and he took all kinds of pictures of them. Their pictures were displayed all over his Chu family store. This human trafficker was acting up again. He wanted to sell people, and he was shamelessly extorting them with a high price. I had no other choice. The damning Pure Land invited me there to marry my child's mother, Qin Luoyin, but they didn't give me any travel expenses. As you all know, this is a small shop of mine, and I'm barely making ends meet. Therefore, this time, I have no choice but to sell some local specialties to raise some travel expenses so that I can invite a bunch of bastards and vampires from the Wormhole Company to open a wormhole for me so that I can cross the starry sky and escort my bride. Therefore, if you have money, please support me. If you don't have money, please support me personally. Help me a lot. As the saying goes, everyone within the 4 seas is a brother. Brothers, please come and support us. The Chu family's restaurant is open for business again after a year. I hope it's a lucky day. Chu Feng's nonsense infuriated everyone and made them want to kill him immediately. This was especially true for the clansmen of the captured geniuses. Their hearts were bleeding. Who didn't know that Demon Chu's heart was black-hearted? In the past, when he sold Visualization and Cloud Eater Realm Divine Sons and Saintesses, he was already demanding an exorbitant price. He made the livers of every race ache and extorted them painfully. Now, the most powerful genius in their goddamn race at the Golden Arhut level had been captured. This practically made their vision go dark. That demon King Chu was cursing the Wormhole Express Company as vampires, but he was definitely 100 times more abominable than vampires. This time, he was practically going to take someone's life and would definitely make every race vomit blood. I say, everyone, you really have hearts of stone. Your hearts are even harder than the stones in the latrine pit. Are you just going to watch as the heads of your clansmen fall to the ground? As the saying goes, money is just a worldly possession. What's the use of having so much? The most precious thing in this world is life. Chu Feng shook his head and sighed. Then, facing the universe's live broadcast, he directly picked up a Golden Arhut genius. Looking at his deathly pale face, he said, "Brother, have we met before? I seem to remember that you're ranked in the top 100 of the universe's genius rankings. Why did you come to this trouble? Did you rush over to make me sell you? You must know that being sold is risky. You must be cautious when entering the market. This is a huge blood-stained pit. Didn't you see that your grandfather isn't close to you and your uncle doesn't love you? No one wants to redeem you. Oh right, I seem to have heard you scolding me the most before this, right? You've always mocked me, saying that I'm not worthy of using that gold account. Invincible is so lonely. You even said that you can pinch me to death with one hand and that you can jump more than anyone else. Could it be that you haven't heard that the rafter that sticks out rots first and no one will redeem you? It seems like you're going to rot first." As soon as Chu Feng finished speaking, He raised the knife in his hand and chopped this person up. The beast head rolled over and this person transformed into his true form. It was a huge ferocious beast with a smoky blood aura and dense scales. He was extremely malevolent and looked a little like a swan and I. In the starry skies, everyone was shaken. This demon King Chu was still talking nicely just now, but now he was directly chopping people down. It was really too savage. After seeing this scene, the elder of the black-scaled swan and I race almost fainted from heartache. His vision really turned black and his mouth was salty as he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. My family's Chilan son, died just like that. He was killed by someone. He was an expert at the Golden Arhat realm, a person with great fortune, yet he died at such a young age. Demon King Chu, what's wrong with you? Why did you kill him without waiting for me to redeem him? We're irreconcilable enemies and I must kill your soul. The elder of the race roared furiously. His teeth were about to break and his heart was dripping blood. He couldn't take it anymore. Can you blame me for this? I've been peddling for a long time, but none of you bought it. I thought this local specialty product was too inferior and no one wanted it, so I could only kill him and eat his flesh. I'll treat a group of brothers to a swan and I hot pot later. A quasi-divine beast at the Golden Arhat realm must taste delicious. I didn't eat much of it before. It would have been better if Chu Feng hadn't explained. Now that he did, he simply incited public anger. A group of people wanted to spray him to death with their saliva. What's the fuss about? The Chu family's small shop has always been like this. We guarantee our reputation. If the goods are bad, we'll resolutely get rid of them. We never sell fake goods. Alright, continue selling. Does anyone want to buy the rest? If no one wants to buy them, then we'll treat them as fake goods and dispose of them. Our shop would rather lose money than sell shoddy goods. As soon as these words were spoken, the relevant parties wanted to curse out loud, but no one dared. Moreover, they were all fighting to make a bid for fear that the geniuses in their race would be treated as defective goods and disposed of. A group of people enthusiastically signed up and were incomparably proactive. They fought to be the first to redeem the outstanding talents in their race for fear that they would be chopped up by Demon King Chu Feng. Everyone understood, and the bystanders also understood that this was the method of a shameless human trafficker. He would purposely chop off one and sell the so-called local specialty product. Now, there was no need for him to say anything more. Which clan dared not to buy? They were more proactive than the last and didn't even need him to continue peddling. There's something I have to emphasize. Don't mention universe dollars and ordinary spirit medicines. I'm only interested in the medicines of the quasi-sage realm. Of course, if you give me a divine medicine, I definitely won't decline or refuse. I'll welcome and thank you. Only Chu Feng could say such words without blushing or having his heart skip a beat. He was extorting and extorting without letting anyone off. He was making every clan bleed. As expected, everyone's faces turned green. A year ago, he only asked for the 6 paths of reincarnation pill for cultivating the Golden Arhat, but now he only wanted the quasi-sage medicine. He was demanding an exorbitant price. Ordinary people really couldn't afford this kind of medicine. But there was no other way. If they didn't redeem the people with the medicine, the geniuses in their clan would have to die. Clearance sale. Don't miss out on this. Chu Feng carried a large knife and shouted as he prepared to clear out the stock. In the end, the various clans were quite decisive and immediately agreed to his request. They secretly contacted him and offered a price that satisfied Chu Feng. Don't worry. After the quasi-sage medicine arrives, I guarantee that I'll immediately send out the local specialty products. My reputation is guaranteed. You can trust the Chu family's small shop. Everyone wanted to slap Chu Feng to death when they heard him being cocky there. Who can go and kill him? I don't believe that a person at the consummate level of the Golden Arhat is no match for him. If a few more people go, I guarantee that they'll beat him up." Some people were furious. Seeing this scene today, many geniuses from all over the universe, at least hundreds of divine sons and saintesses, had ashen faces. They all had the experience of being sold. At this time, Chu Feng used his golden account to show off the Chu family's small shop. He was feeling quite good about himself as he said, "Everyone, don't be angry. You may feel a bit depressed now that you've been captured by me, but you'll be proud of this 10 years and 100 years later." Once these words were spoken, the depths of the starry skies exploded. This demon Chu was truly hateful. He was already a human trafficker, yet he was still so shameless as to provoke the various clans. "Everyone, it's better if I explain it to you," said the old donkey among the great demons of Mount Kunlun. He propped up his long ears and bared his front teeth as he said, "Listen to me. In a few years, anyone who hasn't been sold by Chu Feng will be too embarrassed to go out. They won't be worthy of being called geniuses. After many years, you'll realize that only those whom I, Feng, have taken a liking to and sold can be considered geniuses." F***ck. How can you say that? How can you interpret this donkey's words like that? Mother ****, too shameless. The group of people was furious. However, Chu Feng was calm and unperturbed. He nodded at the old donkey, expressing that he was right. I'm so angry. How shameless. Only those who have been sold by you can be considered geniuses. You're proud of this? Demon Chu, why don't you go and die? Too shameless. Demon Chu is even more despicable than he was a year ago. We should all rise up to punish him. Chu Feng smiled and said, "I've decided to go on a long journey across the cosmos. I'm sure there are many of my friends in the cosmic sea, including the divine sons and saintesses I've sold before. You guys should prepare to receive me. If I pass by your galaxy, I'll go and visit you guys." The group of people couldn't take it anymore. This was tearing at their scars. Afterward, many people started to clamor. "Chu Feng, great demon Chu, will definitely destroy you if you dare come out." In truth, some of the old women from the damning Pure Land couldn't stand it anymore. They felt that Chu Feng was stirring up trouble on purpose. They all believed that Qin Luoyin had used him as a target and sent people to kill him, but in the end, she was being used by him. "Chu Feng, didn't you want to come to the damning Pure Land? We'll wait for you and see if you dare come." The people from the damning Pure Land sneered. "Don't be in a hurry. I'll leave after collecting the debt," said Chu Feng. Afterward, the medicines from each race arrived within 2 days. They all opened up super wormholes to deliver the ransom Chu Feng wanted. These are all medicines a quasi-sage needs. For instance, the soul-dissolving powder and the body-tempering medicine aren't ordinary. We're rich. The black yak sighed in admiration. The old donkey was even more direct. He faced the starry skies and said to the various races, "Goddess Qin Luoyin is indeed virtuous. She hasn't even married yet and she's already thinking for Chu Feng's sake. She's sending him local specialties for him to sell and supplement his household expenses." Everyone couldn't bear to listen anymore. They were quite infuriated by this donkey. The people from the damning Pure Land berated and cursed the old donkey. "Shut up, donkey! Moreover, your grandpa donkey is speaking the truth. You've all been scammed by that husband and wife pair, Chu Feng and Qin Luoyin. They're clearly working together to sell you. You're even like moths flying into a flame, asking to be sold on your own initiative." The old donkey shook his head. In the end, he concluded, "This is a classic example of having a virtuous wife at home. She's completely subsidizing Chu Feng. He hasn't married yet, but he's already taking care of his family." Many people were infuriated by him, especially those from the damning Pure Land. They didn't want to pay him any attention and turned around to question Chu Feng. "Demon Chu, Do you dare to come to the depths of the starry skies? Do you dare to take a step into our damning pure land? We didn't give you the golden invitation back then. Today, we'll say that you're not qualified. Someone from the damning pure land provoked Chu Feng. They wanted to bring him into the starry skies and deal with him afterward. Chu Feng replied without the slightest hesitation. Just you wait. Your sovereign sex master is here. Prepare the bridal chamber. Then, he really did call for the Wormhole Express Company to open a super wormhole. It didn't take long before he appeared outside the damning Pure Land. Your sovereign sect master is here. Why aren't you kneeling and greeting me? Shouted Chu Feng. Everyone from the damning Pure Land was dumbfounded. Did this brat really dare to come? At the same time, the evolvers from every race in the universe were shocked. Chu Feng had actually left Earth and walked into the starry skies so brazenly? Let's go to the damning Pure Land. I want to see how he's going to get married. Is he crazy? This demon is too bold. He's really outside the damning Pure Land. Could it be that he's really going for Goddess Qin? The evolvers from every land were alarmed. Then, many people immediately rushed toward the damning Pure Land to see what was going on. Chapter 860. This planet was grand and ancient. It rotated slowly in the starry sky and oppressed all directions. Its entire body was filled with dense spiritual energy. It was very difficult for evolvers at the transformation realm to fly on this planet because of the suppression of the laws. Chu Feng stood in front of damning Pure Land and once again experienced how different this ancient planet was. He was now at the perfect golden body realm and had touched upon the quasi-saint realm. His senses were sharp. He could feel that this planet was extraordinary and could even be said to be extraordinary. There were divine chains of order hanging down from the void and extending over. Ordinary people couldn't see or sense them. Only the strong could sense them. The laws were perfect and filled the entire planet, suppressing the weak from flying into the sky and burrowing into the ground. There were beautiful mountain peaks in front of him. They were all surrounded by clouds and mist. There were also waterfalls and pine trees that were tens of thousands of years old. The mountains and rivers were exceptionally magnificent. Some of the mountains were majestic and surging with scarlet light. Some of the great peaks were flowing with golden light and suffocating people. They were all entwined with law fragments and so on. And this was just a corner of the land that damning Pure Land could see. In the depths, purple chi emerged from the veins of the earth and formed a huge dragon. It raised its head and roared, emitting terrifying might. There was also the light of order sprinkling down continuously for people to comprehend. Even though Chu Feng had just left with Wu Luanhui's identity, he was still deeply moved when he returned today. When would Earth completely recover and become such a holy land? At this moment, a large group of people appeared outside the mountain gate in front of him. They were all staring at him, and most of them were young disciples of damning Pure Land. They were looking at the great demon, Chu Feng. They could be considered to have been looking forward to meeting Chu Feng for a long time. More than a year ago, they began to pay attention when the #1 goddess of the Pure Land, Qin Luoyin, fought fiercely with Chu Feng. But this was the first time they truly faced him. Of course, this was what they thought. They didn't know that Wu Luanhui was also Chu Feng. The group of people had unkind expressions. Back then, Chu Feng had bitten Qin Luoyin. That scene was simply too beautiful. It had driven many young disciples of this Pure Land crazy. At that time, they clamored to join hands and dismember the demon Chu Feng. However, as Great Demon Chu became more and more savage, the group of people didn't dare to set off. However, things had taken a turn for the better now. Many people from damning Pure Land had entered the foreign domain before, and their confidence and strength had increased explosively. Of course, they had withered again these past few days. Even though Great Demon Chu hadn't shown his face for a year, he was still so savage. His cultivation probably hadn't fallen behind and had caught up with the times. They just couldn't figure it out no matter how they thought about it. Why was it that when they were training in the foreign realm, even if only a few of them could stay for a few months, it was still enough to make up for several decades of effort in the real world? Meanwhile, what did the great demon Chu Feng rely on? Chu Feng, you are extremely daring, provoking my sect again and again, offending the Pure Land, yet you still dare to come here today. A young man berated. No matter what, Chu Feng, the great demon, had taken the initiative to attack them today, which was a challenge and disrespect to them. In terms of momentum, they should suppress him first. At this time, many evolvers on the native planets received the news and immediately rushed over through the transmission domains. This was a rare opportunity, and they all wanted to see if Demon Chu could wreak havoc in the Pure Land. Come over and pay your respects. Chu Feng opened his mouth. His words were so infuriating that the eyes of the younger generation of the damning Pure Land turned cold. They really wanted to press this demon there and rub him with the soles of their shoes. Chu Feng, who the F***ck do you think you are? How dare you be so arrogant after coming to my damning Pure Land? Go to hell. A hot-tempered young man from the damning Pure Land shouted loudly with surging killing intent. He was carrying a purple gold sledgehammer. This was an expert at the Golden Body realm. He was also one of the few people from this orthodoxy who had great harvests in the foreign realm. Now, his strength had increased explosively. With a boom, he suddenly threw out the purple gold sledgehammer. For a moment, this secret treasure glowed and overflowed with purple flames, emitting a suffocating pressure. In the glaring light, the purple gold sledgehammer grew larger. In a flash, it rose from 1/2 meter to thousands of meters in height. Such a large purple gold sledgehammer surpassed many mountain peaks and was refined from secret gold. It smashed toward Chu Feng. On many planets, this was the reappearance of a legend. Who could resist this kind of divine might? What cosmic battleships or void fortresses? None of them could stop this sledgehammer's smash. One could see that even though the soil outside the damning Pure Land was hard and there were laws in the void, it was still warped by the fierce secret gold artifact. Energy surged and the earth split open. If not for the domain protection, the mountain peaks would have exploded and collapsed. However, such a secret treasure that broke through the sound barrier at high speed and was enough to shatter a large mountain was fixed in place all of a sudden when it rushed toward Chu Feng with a tyrannical aura. Domain runes flickered under Chu Feng's feet and confined the void. Following that, he used his hand to lightly tap, and this purple gold sledgehammer that was as large as a mountain peak flew out. It was even faster and more ferocious than when it came and erupted with purple lightning radiance. Chu Feng had bestowed it with even more powerful energy. Swoosh, 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 each and every one of the damning Pure Land's disciples could jump more than rabbits. All of them jumped up and ran. They were so frightened that their faces were pale. This was too evil. He had poked the divine hammer back with just a finger. It was frightening. Even the master of the secret treasure, that young golden Arhat expert, had to scamper away. He put away his so-called violent temper and didn't dare to say a word. Boom! The sledgehammer smashed forward and destroyed the earth at a speed visible to the naked eye. A large pit that was tens of thousands of meters deep was smashed out. Earth and rocks flew everywhere and magma erupted. It was like the end of the world. At the same time, a few nearby mountain peaks collapsed and fell into that continuously expanding black abyss. How savage! As expected of Demon King Chu. How did he cultivate his cultivation? Is Earth so mysterious and terrifying? A year's time is equivalent to tens or hundreds of years of cultivation for others who use the foreign land to temper themselves. How did he catch up? There was a large group of people behind Chu Feng. They were all native evolvers from other sects on this planet. The group of people was scared and had goosebumps all over their bodies. They felt horrified. They were intimidated at the sight of a tyrant like Chu Feng, who wouldn't be afraid of the destructive power caused by a single finger. You guys have guts. You still dare to speak rudely after seeing the future Supreme Sect Master. Come over and pay your respects, said Chu Feng from behind. The group of people who had escaped into the mountain gate had unsightly expressions. Goddamn Supreme Sect Master. This demon was not only shameless but also extremely savage. He was too difficult to deal with. Chu Feng strode forward and walked directly toward the mountain gate. Every step he took covered a distance of several kilometers. That was fairly terrifying and fast. The group of young disciples immediately turned around and ran again. They felt that it was too embarrassing. This was their own sect's doorstep, yet they had been crushed and fled like this. But after entering the depths of the mountain gate, they felt relieved. With the protection of the sect's large-scale protective domain, they didn't believe that Chu Feng could walk as if it were flat ground. They didn't dare to barge in impudently. But very soon, they couldn't rely on themselves anymore. Chu Feng walked into the mountain gate just like that. The runes beneath his feet surged with a large expanse of light and then became increasingly resplendent. Later on, beams of light shot into the sky like erupting volcanoes. They illuminated the boundless firmament and covered the area densely with runes. Chu Feng entered just like that. He was now a domain grandmaster, so the mountain gate couldn't stop him. Of course, the most important thing was that this group of people hadn't activated the true large-scale domain. He entered just like that and rapidly modified it to take control of the mountain gate. In truth, Chu Feng had originally expected that the fighting here would be the most intense in order to enter the damning Pure Land's mountain gate. He might even have to pay a price. Who would have thought that the damning Pure Land would underestimate the enemy and directly lose control of the large-scale domain? This allowed him to successfully charge through as if he were walking on flat ground. Chu Feng laughed. After occupying this place, he could slowly arrange things and finally entered deep into the damning Pure Land. He was very cautious and didn't charge in unscrupulously because he clearly knew that it was impossible for there to be no quasi-saints in this cosmos. Even the damning Pure Land might have one. As such, he carefully arranged things and used his domain grandmaster status to establish himself in an invincible position. He used the domain to change the path and completely changed the runes within the mountains and rivers. Impudent! It's been 10,000 years and no one has dared to charge into my damning Pure Land in recent times. Chu Feng, you demon, you dare provoke our orthodoxy? Are you courting death? An old man who was like a lion, his face covered with a beard that was golden in color. He was extremely bold and powerful, his entire body releasing endless golden light. He rushed over from the air, in his hands a spear. With a hong sound, he stabbed forward. He was at the great circle of the golden body realm, and had even come into contact with the quasi-saint's order power. The surrounding mountain peaks rumbled and shook violently with his spear piercing forward. In the outside world, many mountain peaks would have cracked or even exploded without the protection of domains. That was because this old man's aura was too powerful. His energy was dense and suppressed all directions. Chu Feng revealed an astonished expression. As expected, this kind of orthodoxy had extraordinary foundations. The strength of this kind of person at the great circle of the golden body realm was indeed profound. Even he didn't dare to be careless. Because of this, Chu Feng's fingers turned golden. His blood chi burst forth like an immortal sword and rushed straight into the sky. He combined the lightning fist and Virokana fist together. Outsiders couldn't understand it, but the energy was vigorous and tyrannical. It made his fingers invincible and carried with it a golden energy that was like a sea of rivers. Clang! Chu Feng used his fingers to lightly flick the spear's tip and shook it very high up. Meanwhile, that old man's perlicue immediately ruptured and fresh blood flowed out. This is really a young demon. This old man like a lion fell back, and couldn't help but speak. He was extremely shocked because he had accumulated his cultivation for who knew how many years. In the end, he actually fell into a disadvantageous position after encountering a young man. "Kill!" the old man shouted loudly. His golden hair danced in the wind and the spear in his hand glowed. Dozens of small golden suns interweaved around the spear's tip, and each one was an incarnation of energy. Bang! When he stabbed out once more, the heavens and earth collapsed while ghosts wailed and gods howled. All sorts of strange phenomena appeared. The main reason was that the energy explosion was too terrifying. Chu Feng raised his fist and smashed it. This place instantly became a golden ocean of energy and began to boil. Rumble! A small golden sun flew out. That was the ball of energy hanging on the old man's spear. Some of it was destroyed by Chu Feng, but some of it flew out. Crack! After a small golden sun fell into the outside world, a total of 8 grand mountain peaks exploded and shattered on the spot. There were even a few that were uprooted and blasted high into the sky. At this moment, the spectators finally understood how powerful that spear was. One had to know that there were dozens of small suns hanging on the spear's tip. Pfft! The old man coughed up a large mouthful of blood. He held the broken spear in his hand and flew out horizontally. With a bang, he collided with a mountain peak, and a large amount of blood flowed out. "Is this how you welcome the future sovereign sect master?" Chu Feng said. You. The old man was speechless. How many years had it been since ancient times? No one had dared to fight their way into damning Pure Land like this. This young demon was too terrifying. His strength was unfathomable. Even the old man couldn't fight him head-on and was heavily injured. In reality, Chu Feng had already shown mercy. Otherwise, the old man would have been killed no matter how powerful he was. He hadn't killed a single person since he entered the mountain gate. The main reason was that he was afraid of making things too tense and not being able to account to Qin Luoyin. Of course, since he had come, Demon Chu's elegance couldn't fall. He had crossed the star domain to fight his way here. He was bound to shake the starry skies. As expected, the news immediately spread throughout the universe. Extra! Earth-shattering news. Demon Chu Feng's divine bravery is invincible. He's a true demon 10 times stronger. He swept his way into damning Pure Land and is enough to suppress an entire sect by himself. It's too shocking. This caused monstrous waves and caused an uproar throughout the universe. In the past, Chu Feng's savagery had long since spread, but this was the first time such a savage demon was heard of. What kind of place was damning Pure Land? This wasn't an ordinary sect. It was one of the top sects in the universe. Demon Chu Feng had come to their door and killed his way in just like that? This is too shocking. It seems like I can't save on the toll fee. Wormhole Express Company, open a super wormhole for me. I want to go to damning Pure Land and witness this earth-shattering storm. What? Warning me? I'm sorry, I was influenced by Demon Chu Feng. When I heard him call you vampires, I also blurted it out. Don't do it again. I definitely won't dare to do it again. After that, this evolver cursed behind their backs and said, F***CK, why didn't you guys react when Demon Chu Feng called you vampires? Because he's our top-notch distinguished guest. He sells countless goods and uses our Wormhole Express Company's passageway. We naturally give preferential treatment and respect to our distinguished guests. That evolver jumped in fright. Right behind him, a wormhole had opened and a voice was transmitted. He hurriedly slipped into the wormhole and went on his way. He didn't dare to say anything more. At this moment, many people with powerful backgrounds went on their way. They wanted to see how savage Chu Feng was and how he dared to charge into damning Pure Land alone to display his might. This included Ing Wudi, the silver-haired little Lolita, Yuan Shirching, Yuan, and the vermilion bird fairy. How dare you, demon! You've really gone mad. My damning Pure Land has been peaceful and auspicious for hundreds of thousands of years. How dare you barge in like this? 7 old women blocked the way in front of Chu Feng. They joined hands to block in front of him. Their faces were ashen as they stared at him. They were prepared to join hands to suppress demon Chu Feng. Weren't you the ones who asked me to marry? I'm here. I want to make my child the sect master. Don't put on such a dead face. I'll be your supreme sect master in the future. Why aren't you coming to receive me? Chu Feng said calmly. He was just a youth, yet he was putting on airs and looking down on everyone. Naturally, this was also because the other party's attitude was very vile. Chu Feng counterattacked without the slightest hesitation and forcefully charged through. How savage! Little demon, hand over your life. Everyone, let's suppress him together. 7 experts at the perfect golden body realm joined hands and attacked Chu Feng at the same time. They bombarded him with boundless energy, causing the heaven and earth to rumble. Some of the order runes interweaved. It was simply unimaginable for 7 experts to join hands. This kind of battle happening in an important place of damning Pure Land made the faces of the sect disciples turn pale. This was the first time they realized how much they had underestimated Chu Feng in the past. This demon was too terrifying. Even Wu Luanhui might not necessarily be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with him now that he had obtained a great fortune. Bang! In the end, after the 7 experts fought fiercely with Chu Feng for a period of time, all of them were sent flying. Blood flowed from the corners of their mouths as their weapons fell out of their hand. 4 flying swords were even broken. They were all cast from metal and were originally tough and indestructible, but now they were all broken by Chu Feng's golden fists. Chapter 861. Chu Feng's green clothes were clean without a single drop of blood. He looked down at the front and said, "Why bother?" His voice wasn't loud, but it made the 7 old women feel ashamed. They had been at the Golden Body Realm for hundreds and thousands of years and had accumulated for a long time. It could be said that their Tao foundation was very deep. Although they couldn't become quasi-saints for a long time, every single one of them was a super expert who was far stronger than ordinary golden body figures. Yet, they were still defeated. This was damning Pure Land, a famous evolutionary sect. How many years had it been since something like this had happened? Someone came knocking on their door, and the impact was far-reaching. Demon Chu Feng, do you think damning Pure Land is a plane where you can run around as you please? An old woman wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and revealed a cold smile. Although she admitted that Chu Feng's strength was indeed terrifying and close to Wu Luanhui's, she was still a bit angry. She felt sullen as someone came knocking on their door. "A year ago, you didn't give me the golden invitation and threatened to block my path of evolution, making me fall behind the geniuses of this era. What happened in the end? Now, I'm listening to you coming alone to challenge and marry. In the end, you still won't cooperate and still want to show me who's boss? I feel that you're repeating the mistakes of a year ago and digging your own grave. Why bother?" Chu Feng said calmly. He had said the last 4 words not long ago, and now that he mentioned it again, it was quite a blow to damning Pure Land. Report, the Prince of the Yuhua dynasty requests an audience. Report, the Princess of the Great Qi dynasty has come to visit. Report, the Prince of the Quasi-Saint race, Ing Wudi, has appeared outside the Pure Land and is here to visit a friend. Report, the Prince and Princess of the Origin Demon race have come together. At this moment, disciples came in continuously to report. Many guests came to visit. It didn't take much to know that they had opened the super wormhole and rushed over to witness this shocking storm. "I'm not seeing them," an old woman whispered. "How could they meet guests under such circumstances? It was too embarrassing." However, a disciple advised. Junior Sister Qin Luoyin summoned all the geniuses in the universe and asked them to fight with Chu Feng. She would choose whoever could defeat him. "Now that so many geniuses have come, can we borrow their strength?" The old woman's expression was gloomy as she said, "It's still embarrassing. When did our damning Pure Land become so weak that we actually need to borrow external power?" "Forget it, please come in. Paper can't wrap fire. Now that the matter has been leaked, there's no way to hide it anymore. It's better to let some people take action and suppress that demon together. I don't believe that no one can stop him." Chu Feng was sensing carefully. His heart was pounding. There were 2 balls of flames of life in the depths of damning Pure Land. They were lying dormant in the deepest parts of the earth. If his domain techniques hadn't been accomplished, he definitely wouldn't have been able to sense them. He was a great grandmaster, so he was very sensitive to earth energy. The entire landscape of the mountains and rivers was within his grasp. After careful observation, he could naturally sense the 2 great experts underground. At the very least, he's a secondary saint. He has an aura of decay and his body should be rotting soon. He doesn't have much lifespan left. This caused Chu Feng to become serious. He realized that the foundations of an evolutionary sect at this level were too deep. Even if the so-called saints had all left to fight for the divine position, there were still people who stayed behind to keep watch. However, Chu Feng also guessed that those 2 wouldn't come into being until damning Pure Land's moment of life and death. Moreover, they most likely wouldn't be able to attack more than a few times before their physical bodies and soul light would decay. Chu Feng was very calm. Even though his heart had become serious, he wasn't afraid. This came from the confidence he had in himself. He was a domain grandmaster, so in theory, he didn't fear people at the level of a secondary saint. If a battle really broke out, he could go all out and stop at nothing. It was still uncertain who would be the one to kill who. This was the main reason why he dared to enter the universe. Even if he encountered a true old saint and really couldn't beat them, he could still use the domain to escape. "Where's Luoyin? I want to see her. In addition, isn't your damning Pure Land too harsh on me? You've been targeting me time and time again. Do you really think I have a good temper? If it wasn't because I'm your future Supreme Sect Master, I would have killed all of you." When Chu Feng spoke up to this point, a murderous aura pervaded the air. At the same time, the blood chi around his body spread out like scarlet dragons whistling and circling. It was shocking and gave people too much pressure. In addition, he was also pervading the air with astonishing yang qi. It made many young disciples turn pale and stagger back. They felt they couldn't stand it because facing him was like facing a terrifying sacred furnace burning their souls. "Chu Feng, demon, we have to admit that you're very strong. However, damning Pure Land can't be humiliated. Don't think no one can suppress you." An old woman was very domineering. She shot a cold glance at Chu Feng before looking into the distance and said, "Old ancestor, please come out of seclusion." This made Chu Feng's heart skip a beat. Could it be that they were going to use the 2 saint experts underground now? Very soon, he knew he was thinking too much. An old man with spotlessly white hair and beard appeared. He was shockingly old, and was precisely Jun Tuo's good friend, an old golden body expert who had survived since ancient times. Back then, he had mistakenly eaten a strange great medicine and his lifespan had increased explosively. Otherwise, how could there be a golden body expert who had survived from ancient times until now? Other than a few people, the people of that era would have died a long time ago if they were still at the golden body realm. The old man was extremely old and walked over from afar. He was usually all smiles and his hair was almost gone. But now, he began to fill the air with world-shocking energy, especially his terrifying soul light. "Hey Jun Tuo-san. Nephew, you're here too. I haven't seen you for a few days and I've missed you very much." This old golden body spoke. He saw Ouyang Feng, who was walking over with Ing Wudi, Yuan Shicheng, and the others, and was incomparably enthusiastic as he waved at him. Motherf ** Ker. Ouyang Feng felt that this was really bad luck. A few days ago, he immediately ran away because he couldn't stand this old man being too enthusiastic. He really couldn't stand it anymore. In the end, he just returned today and bumped into him again. "You're becoming more and more like your father, Jun Tuo. Nephew, watch the battle from the side and see how powerful this old uncle is." After the old man finished speaking, he began to look straight at Chu Feng. Bang! In the next moment, his decaying corporeal body crackled all of a sudden. His entire body's blood chi soared and his bones shifted. In a flash, he turned into a middle-aged man who was much more handsome all of a sudden. At the same time, his soul light flickered and suffused with a multicolored brilliance. "Father, be careful. Don't fall for his tricks," a weak voice transmitted over from afar. The little Taoist's arrival also meant that Qin Luoyin had appeared. Many people at the scene went limp on the ground. They were deeply horrified when faced with this old man's might. It was as if they were facing a colossus, a giant beast in the primal chaos that they were powerless to contend against. Especially his soul light, it was too oppressive. Even Chu Feng was moved. This old man was extremely powerful, and had touched the divine chains of order, but why couldn't he enter the quasi-saint domain? Buzz! In the next moment, Chu Feng's ears rumbled and everything went dark in front of his eyes. He had suffered a spiritual attack. In the vicinity, many people had completely fainted and were sent into a dreamland by a patch of multicolored soul light. If that old man had the intention to kill people, this group of people would have to die. Impressive. Is this what it means to kill people in their dreams? Chu Feng trembled with fear. He had almost been hypnotized just now and almost fainted. Once he was pulled into a dreamland, the other party might kill him. Wave after wave of multicolored soul light rushed toward Chu Feng and drowned him like tidewater. Chu Feng was very calm. He was naturally powerful enough. Even if the other party was an old monster who had survived since ancient times, he still wasn't a quasi-saint. After all, he was still within the range of the golden body, so he had a way to deal with him. However, this enemy was indeed powerful enough to force Chu Feng to use his true abilities. He silently circulated the thunderous breathing technique, and divine sounds exploded in his body. Thunderbolts resonated with his internal organs and flesh. He was enveloped in golden light and glowed like a god. The most important thing was that the thunderbolts and soul light resonated and kept him awake. This was one of the strongest breathing techniques in the Yang realm. What Chu Feng used was the Yang realm version and not the one that had been modified in the Yin realm. This power was too tyrannical. In a flash, he was like a great furnace roasting the evolvers in the surroundings. Many people cried out in alarm and woke up from their slumber. Then, they fled quickly because their bodies were about to be ignited. At the same time, the sound of thunder rumbled in Chu Feng's body, and his yang qi boiled. It disintegrated the soul light that was attacking him and scattered it in the void. The so-called killing people in their dreams was ineffective against him. In the end, this old man's spirit was dispirited, and he staggered backward. He was also no match for Chu Feng. At this moment, whether it was the people inside damning Pure Land or those honored guests, they were all very shocked. An old monster that had survived since ancient times wasn't even Chu Feng's match and was defeated. Who else could subdue him in the golden body domain? Let me. At this moment, An old woman from damning Pure Land had just come out of seclusion. She was extremely old and rushed toward Chu Feng while leaning on a walking stick. Bang! In a split second, she struck out with her palm. The whole sky was filled with snow-white light, and her divine power was astonishing. Bang! Chu Feng met her palm and felt a majestic energy surge over like a mountain torrent. It forced him to go all out and use his corporeal body's energy. His blood chi was like a river, and the sea as it directly exploded outside his body. It formed an intense red gale that engulfed this place and caused the earth to crack. In this final attack, both of them fell back, but Chu Feng was safe and sound. However, there was blood at the corner of the old woman's mouth, and she almost couldn't stand anymore. Another famous senior from damning Pure Land, an unfathomable old monster, was defeated. Let me try. Finally, some geniuses from the outside world made their move. After all, this concerned whether they could marry Qin Luoyin or not. Naturally, many people from the younger generation wanted to fight a bloody battle for this. Even Yuan Shicheng and Ing Wudi were moved and wanted to make their move. Bang 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 in damning Pure Land, Chu Feng stood with his head held high in the field. Those so-called universe-level geniuses were sent flying from time to time, bringing with them a large expanse of blood. It was a very beautiful sight. Hiss! Those from damning Pure Land gasped. They could confirm that this demon defied the heavens. Even geniuses who returned from foreign cultivation weren't his match. Just how did he cultivate? In my opinion, even if Luoyin marries him, it won't be a very bad choice. After all, he's so powerful and only above Wu Luanhui, not below him. The key is that we've become enemies with him long ago. Moreover, he's attacking our door like this. This is forcing us to abdicate. We've lost too much face. What face do we still need now? We don't dare to accept such a powerful heaven-bestowed character into our sect. Don't tell me we want him to run away like Wu Luanhui and be snatched away by the quasi-immortal race? Within damning Pure Land, a few old monsters began to discuss. The dispute over this was very intense. Chu Feng discovered that Ing Wudi had entered the field. He wasn't polite because this brother-in-law of his always gave him a black face. He took advantage of this opportunity to teach him a lesson. In reality, Ing Wudi was very powerful, but he was still beaten miserably in a short period of time when faced with the unrestrained demon King Chu. Wow, brother, you've become a kite in the air. You're being beaten until you're spitting blood. You're flying in the air and the blood you spit out is connected to the ground. Ing Xiaoxiao also came over and screamed. Ing Wudi was defeated. He wasn't a match at all, but he was very excited and actually very happy. He was sent flying and continuously coughed up blood. Then, he excitedly ran over to Chu Feng and said, "Brother Chu Feng, you're indeed a heaven-bestowed divine warrior. You're so powerful. I admire you to the extreme." Chu Feng was astonished. He finally found his brother-in-law to be a little more pleasing to the eye. I don't know why, but I feel like old friends at first sight with Brother Chu Feng. I especially like you. I want to make friends with you. He rambled on and on. Chu Feng was in a good mood. This brother-in-law of his, who always treated him with a black face, was actually chatting happily with him with this identity. They got along very well. In the future, he would find a chance to tell him that Wu Luanhui was Chu Feng. Presumably, this brother-in-law wouldn't be so resistant then, right? But very soon, Chu Feng's face darkened. His thoughts just now came to nothing. "Brother Chu Feng, I have something I need your help with. If you can defeat Wu Luanhui, I'll definitely reward you handsomely. If you can prevent Wu Luanhui from marrying into my Ing family, I'm willing to gift you a type of sacred medicine." After Chu Feng heard these words, he immediately looked at him with slanted eyes. This brother-in-law's temperament was really hard to change. He actually wanted to find him to deal with Wu Luanhui. Ingwudi continued, "To tell the truth, if you can defeat Wu Luanhui, I'd rather you and my sister be Dao companions than see a brat enter our clan. Of course, the premise is that you can defeat Wu Luanhui." Chu Feng resisted the urge to beat him up. This brother-in-law of his, who always treated him with a black face, was looking for external help. But if he knew that Chu Feng was Wu Luanhui, what kind of expression would he have in the end? Ingwudi left after chatting for a while. After that, he muttered to himself in the distance, "Strange. Why does this Chu Feng make me feel vexed? I feel that he's the same as Wu Luanhui. Both of them aren't good people." Motherf ****. Chu Feng's divine senses were too sharp. He actually heard it. He could see that this brother-in-law of his was definitely his greatest enemy in his previous life. "Great Demon. Chu Feng, this way. Our saintess invites you in." Someone went forward. He originally wanted to call him Great Demon, but he was so frightened that he changed his words. That was because this young disciple instinctively felt that something wasn't quite right. Perhaps the Pure Land would agree to this Great Demon becoming Qin Luoyin's Dao companion. The direction was changing. Chu Feng walked slowly toward Qin Luoyin. Everyone realized that the direction of the wind wasn't quite right. At the same time, an uninvited guest arrived outside of damning Pure Land. He sneered and said, "The sixth peerless beauty in this cosmos. I really want to see how beautiful she is." He then added, "The so-called geniuses here are all sickly people. They're all too weak." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.